Welcome to the War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com/Zoom.
Welcome you guys to the 9/11 War Room. We are, what is the date? December
19th.
2021. Thank you. David did want to speak on 9/11 physics denial and also nonviolence activism. As far as new news, I think Al mentioned Mike Atkinson's emails are really something else. I don't know if you got that, Sandra, if you're on the list.
Mike Atkinson's?
Mike, he sends this weekend tidbits for 9/11 Truth.
Right.
And I can shut this off. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Anyways, but he has a long list, talks about I guess what he considers current events. The Unspeakable movie is out. Actually, I'll just forward this on to you guys instead of just reading it off to you. But there's he does a pretty good job here.
No kidding, huh?
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. You should look at that Whitney Webb interview.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Sean, thanks for joining. We're just going over new news real quick, and there was an email from Mike Atkinson, which a lot of links. He does like this weekend tidbits. I could forward this on to anybody that would like it. Al already has it.
Well, I could put it in the minutes.
There we go.
That everyone gets it by email at least.
The other thing I wanted to ask folks, how do I start this? The 9/11 public directory is now fully functional. The one small snafu I had is now working. So if you go in and edit your profile, you'll see that you have a public email and a private email. And the private email is hidden, won't be seen in the directory, and is behind a form. So for instance, if I click on, let me just pick me because I already, I have both of them in there. If you click here, I'm logged in as admin. Hang on, let me log out. Try this again. And zoom this. So if you come in and you would go over Gene La Rotonda, look at this profile, it just shows the public email address. It won't show the private email address that you give. When you click on the person to see their personalized profile, once again, it's just going to show the public, not the private. If somebody didn't want to give a public address and just had a private email address, there's now a contact me tab on their profile that you can then email that person and they won't have to worry about their email address ever being seen. So somebody could give their name, and I would like to ask them for their name, their city, state, and country, and private email address. And that's pretty darn anonymous, I think, if you want. You can make up a name if you'd like.
A little question, if someone actually fills out the form,
yep.
Say someone fills out the form and sends me an email, the second that I respond though, they do have my email, right? So that's where yes. I agree to disclose information by answering, right?
Correct. So if let me just put Gene and Gene, let me put my Gmail account in here. Gene.larotonda@gmail.com. Test 2, test. Submit it. I'll hear a ding here shortly, and we should see it. You can see what I see. So if I were to register now, the only required fields I'm asking is first name, last name. You could make that up. A private email address, obviously a password. Actually, I'm not even asking for your city, just your state and your country. I don't think anybody should have a problem giving their country and their state. I mean, it's really not telling, it's not, We just would like to be able to see on a map roughly where everybody's at. So.
And why don't you show the map and just see
so-
how it functions and how you can zoom in on the information?
So right now it just gives you a broad view. If I hold control, I can zoom in on these 32. And it breaks up even more, even more, even more. Let's check out these people over here in Massachusetts. There's 3 of them. There's Al and Susan Serpa and
Chris,
Chris Bruner.
Bruner.
There's my email. Come check it out. I thought that's what that was. I guess not.
maybe it went into your spam.
Oh, there it is. From Gene at La Rotonda, from the Gmail account, because that's what I put to respond to. Subject, the body's in there. So now when you reply, it would go to that Gmail account.
Right.
And now you're, yes, if you reply to this, you are giving approval that your
Right.
information is now known.
Which is standard, right?
So I think this is a pretty rock solid directory. I mean, it's being respectful of people's privacy. It's showing like a war room would show where the troops are. And there's nothing really, there's no full disclosure unless you want, unless you're a nutball like me and just put everything out there.
Come on, guys, don't you think this is amazing?
I do. I think it's unbelievable. It's great.
Al's
Great
in
idea.
there. All of us are in there. Sean's there. Sandra, Dave, me, Al, we're all in here. So, so somebody like Sean that does really respect his privacy, and I
Look,
dig
Sean
that.
is in your picture too.
Yeah, he's over there. There he is.
I don't
Um,
mind being out there.
I think you were. Let me see here. Come on. There you go. I took the liberty of giving you a picture because I couldn't find one, so forgive me.
No, I've
um,
seen that. That's fine.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Oh wait, I'm not logged into it. Yeah, you did put a lot in there, so that wasn't a good example. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good. How are
Yeah,
you?
Mike?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
loud and
Okay.
clear.
I just got this new laptop, so I'm just trying to learn how to use it.
Let me think. David Chandler. He didn't want to share a lot. So if you look, gave his Facebook account. He's interested in World Trade Center and the Pentagon. That's about it. Um,
Yeah, and even if you click on his,
but if
like
you
if
want
you
to be able
go
to,
the one layer down, yeah.
you
Yeah,
should
nothing here.
you should be able to contact him. Did he? Yeah, he put his email address. So that it's up to him because the way I changed things, I want people to reevaluate whether or not they want to share their private email address publicly. So you can just copy and paste that same email address if you'd like.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. Mikey, we were just going over the 9/11 public website. I would love to see you in there, buddy.
Oh yeah, tell me how I can sign up.
All right. If you guys wouldn't mind, I'd like to show you this process real quick.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So you register. I'm going to add you in here. Mike, you go by Mike or Mikey?
You can put Mike or Mikey, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, Mikey, Paporrazzo. So do you want your email address listed publicly or do you want to keep it private?
Yeah, I can give you my email address.
Okay, so what you got?
It's MP NYC 27, sorry, not Q7,
7.
at AOL.com.
AOL. You're too young to be using AOL, man. That's
I'm-
hilarious.
Yeah,
His mom created the account when he was 4.
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
I was actually born in 94, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You can change your
Born in
password.
94.
You can change your password later. I'm going to set it to password 9/11 with a capital P.
Okay.
I have questions for someone who was born in 94, but I'll ask you after.
We
Okay.
We don't have to give address. City, you cool with giving your city?
Yeah, Harper's Ferry.
Harper's Ferry,
That's West Virginia.
West
Oh.
Virginia. You want to give your zip?
25425.
And you are obviously in the United States. And then I'll just copy your zip code and put it down here.
Yeah,
All
that's
over
it.
Yeah, there you are. You don't have to, but do you want to give your phone number?
Yeah, sure.
All right, what you got?
Yeah, can we come back to that? I was gonna
Yeah.
give you like a junk phone number just in case somebody wants to.
That's
screw
fine.
around.
Do you have a website you have?
I don't have a website.
You are on Facebook, so here I'll just do this, and this is how you get this for everybody. Mike Porrazzo. You go to your profile, and up right after Facebook.com, that is your.
Okay.
So I'm just going to copy that, and I found a shortcut. Instead of typing Facebook, what you can do is just put. Actually, forget I said that. This plugin made it all easy. Just take your name after the slash and put it in there, and it'll make a link for you. Whoop, not there.
Okay.
So we're good there. Later on, you can come back and update all your other stuff: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, if you want. Have you signed the LC petition?
Yes, but you can put me on there.
Did you sign the AE petition?
Probably not, but not because I didn't want to. There's just so many fucking things going on, you know?
All right, on. So if you can get there, you can answer these later. I don't want to put you on the spot in front of everybody. There's varying degrees. I always hate to ask you if you donate because there's varying degrees why people don't donate. But it would be nice to have $1 a month at least to come in to Lawyers Committee and Richard Gage. Right now, I'm not too happy with AE. I love AE. But there's certain people running AE I'm just not happy with right now. But I think money.
Yeah,
would be better
I'm in
spent.
agreement with that too.
Money would better be spent with LC and Richard Gage, I think.
Okay.
Activities of interest. You're into online activism,
Yep, I love that.
street activism.
I'm into that. I talk to my customers about this shit all day long.
Nice.
And I've
I love that.
actually turned the tide on quite a bit of people too. So
Wow,
like
great.
I actually have the World Trade Center 7 on my phone. Like I can pop it up in a minute and I'll show people that. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, that's the third tower that fell on 9/11. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, exactly.
That's great.
That's amazing. That's how you do it.
That's how you
Yeah.
do it. Awesome, brother. Do you have any artistic abilities? Let's see, how did I write this? Are you interested in making art for 9/11 justice? Photography, painting, drawing, music, dance, theater?
Pretty much all that like meme stuff you do. I don't have any talent in that.
That's all right.
But thanks for asking. Sorry.
Right on. It's all good. So the reason we're asking these things is you can then filter it. So if there were other activists and go, oh, I'd like to find other people that are street activists. I'll show you in a minute. You do any written outreach? Are you into letter or email campaigns, or do you?
Yeah, I like written outreach. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any familiarity, skill, or interest in fundraising?
Yes.
Oh. And do you have any skills or interest in event organizing? Either.
No, I'd be late to my own funeral.
Last couple questions. Topics of interest. World Trade Center,
For sure.
Pentagon,
I don't know enough about it, so little to none, I guess.
Shanksville,
I've been trying. Yeah, that's an interest. Yeah, because I'd like to know more.
geopolitics.
What's that mean?
So basically all of the
Political implications and ties to the,
Oh, to the events? Yeah, for sure. Yes.
legal action going on
Yes.
and the anthrax stories.
I don't know enough about it.
All right. So there you are. You would register. Now here's where the power is in this. I don't need to save that. And what I'll do for you real quick, because I like to do this. I like a better picture of you. We'll we'll do that later. So you can download a picture and put it in there. But here's where the power is. Now, when you go back to members, you should be one of the three in here. Let's go to West Virginia. Wow, you're way over there. Is that, no?
More. Yeah, keep going in.
What about it?
Yeah, keep going, keep going.
Is that live?
And then go
Yeah, there's
up.
two people there, I think.
Oh,
That's me
here it
right
is.
there.
Oh, yeah, you can't see him because,
Wait, is that, oh, you say Virginia or West Virginia?
no, you had him, but the thing is, he doesn't have a profile picture, so it's really faded
Yeah,
out. It's
right there. That little
That's
gray
him.
area, that's me.
Is that West Virginia?
Yeah, it's like
Wow.
within 10 minutes, I can be in Maryland, Virginia, or West Virginia.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
If it's fully depleted, it would be at 40 amps. I just connected it
Who's that?
2.2, which is 2.2.
I think it's David talking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
You
just
muted.
muted you. All good. So one, the power is we can see where each other are if we wanted to reach out. But two, more importantly, let's say that somebody wanted to filter out just the people in the United States. So just the people in United States and just people that are interested in street activism. And now there's 18 people. Let's get even more. Let's go to the state. Let's go to West Virginia. Or actually, let's try to find one with some people in it. Florida. Okay, there's nobody in Florida.
You
We'll
mean
just
for
stick-
street activism?
Yeah, so we'll just stick with this. So right now in the United States, there's 18 people interested in street activism. But as this got more populated, let's say we have a couple thousand people in here, you could actually find people within your state that are involved in this, that are interested in this, and then you could organize something. We could reach out to each other. And I love how this is. Nobody can come in here and steal everybody's information very easily. But right now, if everyone wanted to steal these people's information, you would have to one by one click and open up everything. There's no easy way to do that. It would be and nobody has access to private emails. So I think it's a really nice,
So
way
that,
to-
just out of curiosity, you know that email extractor tool that you found, that you
Mhm.
used on universities and stuff like that?
Yep.
That wouldn't work over here?
That wouldn't work because there's no private email address listed.
Okay.
And they would have to they'd have to run that tool on each and every page. They'd have to visit it and run it. And then,
Right,
and there's not even an email address here.
right.
She doesn't have a public email address listed. So the only way to contact, Lynn, which actually a guy, the only way to contact Lynn is to go through here and there's no email address visible. So it completely protects you from spammers.
Lynn is a guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
it's an uncommon first name.
Lynn Foster.
I like his little fraud thing. That's pretty funny.
So that was all I wanted to say about that. I would love to see people get other people because this is for us as a movement. This isn't, I really don't want people to think, oh, wait, I missed. It's 5:20. Please take a moment to say a prayer real quick. Lord, thank you so much for these people that are just stalwarts in the movement, that you would protect, guide us each and every day as we continue to do this, or that you would just open doors and avenues for justice to be heard. That you would expose the evil that's covering this up, and whatever methods, whatever avenues, Lord, you would just bless it. In your name I pray. Amen. Thank you.
Man.
Amen.
Let's train of thought now. Where was I?
Hey, Gene, do you know a guy named Richard Mulvey? Do you know him?
I don't know.
He's a guy I ran into as an activist on actually that 9/11 truth movement on Facebook, and like me and him spoke on the phone one time for like 3 hours, like talking about all this stuff that, yeah, it's not him.
Okay.
I'll send you the guy's Facebook link on Messenger, but basically he was in some type of really top secret military clearance type thing back in the early 90s and through the 2000s. And he believes that he came in contact with the people from the United 93 flight because they were kept behind razor wire on a military base and nobody was allowed to go near it. And I was like, that seems pretty
After the incident, you
far-fetched.
mean?
Yeah,
After?
after the incident. And I was like, that's kind of interesting because you would think they would have offed all those people by now, you know, like killed them. But the guy really had a lot to say, and I've been trying to get him to talk to you a couple times, but it just never really worked out. I was gonna try and shoot him a message on Facebook and see if he could join us this evening.
Yeah, that'd be good. You actually did connect, and he tried to call a long time ago, and it dropped off my radar.
Yeah.
How long ago did he come across these people? Like right after the incident or years later?
Within like 6 months, he said.
And who are you speaking of?
Richard Mulvey.
Okay.
I'll look him up and send his
That's
Alright.
interesting.
profile to you.
What would
That's
be?
very interesting.
What Facebook are you running on at this point? Because I'm always
You mean which profile?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gene Larotonda with the black shirt on.
Okay. Got it.
With the
Coming
video
from-
profile picture?
They almost got me the last couple of days. I vented on a couple people, and Sandra reeled me in and said, "You might want to take the MF word off of there." And
I don't
Yeah,
think you
that-
took away the FU though.
no, that Craig McKee pushed me a little bit. And, yeah.
I read that thread. I was trying to figure out where that all originated or how that got to be so.
So since there's
Go ahead.
since there's such a few amount of people on here, I could explain a little bit of it. And it's being recorded. Who cares? Try to watch my P's and Q's here. Richard had sent out an email that all of you may be aware of that had said that he redid his reason why he left AE. And he dropped a name in there, which I have been frothing at the mouth over for a long time. He keeps talking about how the PR firm made a decision to get him ousted from the influence. The PR firm had an influence on the board to make the decision to let him go. And I was like, man, I would love to know that PR firm's name. I would love to know it. And he just wouldn't say. And for whatever reason, Richard decided to rewrite that article, and he dropped the PR, not only the PR firm's name, but the guy that was central to it. And it's actually still in the email there, the post that Alfred's talking about. I just don't want to say it. I got to figure out I should probably remove that and get myself in more trouble with Richard, which I don't want. But for whatever reason, when he dropped that name, that's all I need, because I'm a bulldog. I will fight for you tooth and nail if I feel like you're being wronged in the 9/11 Truth movement. And I did what I do. I found this gentleman's his Facebook, his Twitter, articles he's written online, any organization he's with, and I will comment. I will do anything to disrupt and infect and just annoy. And it worked too well.
Well, because you dug and you got some background on him
Yeah.
and you exposed him for that.
What do you
Yeah.
have to say about that?
Huh?
Well, what's his name?
This could get me in trouble with Richard, because Richard retracted the name now, because what happened was it created a bunch of stink for him. I guess I didn't finish the story. So this created a bunch of stink. I definitely was over the target, and this is definitely rattled cages, because they were in damage control and must have pushed on Richard to shut. Richard asked, could you please delete that? And I did delete the comment on his article post. I have not yet deleted on my profile yet, but I should retract his name as well, because I don't want to create heartache for Richard, because they're fighting Richard right now over his pension, and just it's unethical what's going on. I think, in my opinion, what happened to Richard is wrong on all levels. He made a mistake. He made, and I've talked with Sandra a long time over this. I hate to say he made a mistake. And Al, I know you don't agree with talking out on that other subject, but he was at Anarchapulco where the whole, everything about what's wrong in the world today, they're there for Anarchapulco. They're talking about everything. And Richard was there to represent AE 9/11 Truth. And what he should have said was, I'm going to speak about something and it does not reflect the views of AE 9/11 Truth. Just like Andy says at the beginning of every free fall episode. And Richard didn't say that, and he shared his views, and then Slate wrote an article, and Spike Lee spiked that part of the New York epicenters, and it became this big thing, and the PR firm said, well, Richard's got to go, which is a total knee-jerk reaction. That was way more. Richard should have filed a public apology, or, it wasn't so big that everyone's going to make that big of a deal of it. Like, by now, everyone would have forgot about it, I think. And it was a total overreaction to take the founder and CEO of the organization and kick him out of his own organization. It just offends me to no end.
Yeah, and if I can interrupt for a second, what riles me about that is that if we were all hung out to dry on the one time we said the one thing that was out of context and we lost our careers over it, it's hard to imagine that played out the way it did. I mean, people should be allowed to,
So
have a slip up.
I drilled on that too as well. So their application crashed.
Yeah, you just first you froze and then you disappeared from the screen.
How about oh wait. Yeah.
Like everyone else is still there.
There
Yeah,
you
you're back.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So that firefighter that you guys ran into over on Vesey Street on the anniversary, did that guy end up turning out to be the real deal? Because me and Chris were trying to figure that out, and Chris seemed like he was 100% sure that guy was the real deal, but yeah, I just wasn't feeling it because he wasn't really answering any questions like real direct, I mean, keep in mind, I'm not a firefighter, but I am friends with a lot of former and current FDNY.
So on that note, for Captain Patterson to speak out like he did and not know who Chris Gioia was really doesn't make a lot of sense. And we did everything in our power to try to get the two to talk. And to this day, they still haven't talked, even though you're saying that from your end, you guys couldn't get a response. Yeah, something's odd there. I don't know.
Was Chris able to establish that there was such a person by that name that had worked for the FDNY? Because he said he was retired now, right? So he said that's what allowed him to speak out publicly. But was Christopher able to confirm that there had once been a Captain Patterson among those ranks?
I don't know, but I tell you what, I'll text him right now and ask him because.
Oops, sorry. You guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I mean, that would be the first step, right? To make sure that this person even actually exists. Did we ever get his first name? I don't remember. I know we tried. But yeah, everything was suspicious about this guy's appearance because, he came to Ground Zero in full gear, totally dressed up, totally standing the part.
There was something about his uniform that didn't really look exactly.
Well, Chris said it was. What the heck?
Yeah. But it was just weird because he showed up very, very much like he belonged there, he came in and he took his place and he spoke about it very eloquently. And he sounded like someone who should have been connected to a bunch of people if he was really involved and if he really cared that much about 9/11 Truth, and yet nobody seemed to know who he was.
Yeah, that I agree with everything you're saying as well.
Chris had said he checked out everything's authentic on the uniform. You guys are seeing my screen now? You guys are seeing my screen now?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I can see it.
So,
But then again, just
Gene,
because it checks
I've
out
seen
as
this-
authentic, I mean, it could still be a replica. I mean,
right. Bruce,
Because the hat doesn't look right for sure. Usually it has the Maltese cross on the hat. I'm not seeing that there. So
Bruce, you were gonna say something?
I was just going to say I've seen Mr. Patterson in other YouTube videos that are not 9/11 related.
Ah, interesting.
and what does he do in those other videos?
So I watch a lot of videos, and I actually can't quite remember exactly what this protest was about, but somebody was calling him out very harshly in the video.
Interesting.
Was he impersonating a different kind of character? Was he showing up as a
Nope,
captain
Dressed
again?
the exact same.
Really?
Huh.
And speaking
Well,
out on
Most
a
of the
different
video-
video
pose?
seemed to be discrediting him. You didn't hear much of what he had to say. You heard more about somebody calling him out.
Interesting.
We've asked them. We try to.
I'll find the video and send it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that would be amazing.
People have tried to reach out to him and can't get a hold of him, so there's kind of a tell there. If he's so outspoken, but then I think Chris Joya said to me, you know, if he has his retirement, he might be he might be wanting to speak out, but in not full capacity. I don't know.
But he is retired.
Yeah, but I don't know if at any point somebody could. Are you completely?
Jane?
Go ahead.
what is your connection with firefighter Tim Duffy? Is he along with the plan here, the truth movement, or not? Because I know he was reported the guy riding on the motorcycle when the towers came crashing down, but I don't know if he's
No,
still believing the official or if he's a truther at this point.
Tim is an interesting character. Tim befriended me a long time ago. We agreed on some things. For those that don't know, Tim has this really great photo. He was a FDNY,
Yeah.
hopped on his bike and rode through and did an outstanding job of doing his job that day. He'll come back and say that the tanks in 7 blew out the floor and that's why 7 came down. But we've been friends here for 4 or 5 years now, maybe not that long. And he knows what I post. And I've asked him many times, and he won't unfriend me. So I think he's highly interested, or he's at the point where he's one of those guys that couldn't take a chance of losing his pension, so he can't speak out. But
Yeah, he's probably in the closet about it because he doesn't want to lose his pension. Yeah, exactly.
I really feel strongly about that with Tim Duffy, because he's been friends with me for far too long to. He didn't come out and say something.
Yeah, that dude's a badass.
Yeah, he is. I dig him. He's a good guy. He's also same rate as I was in the Navy.
Oh, so I was on a job the other day down in DC, and on the license plate on my Explorer it says 343 FDNY, and sometimes it gets some attention. And this one particular building manager of this building I was working on saw it, and he's like, "So what's your connection to that?" And I said, "Well, a really good friend of mine, i.e. Chris Joya, was a firefighter there, and a couple of his best friends died. So I'm just like trying to keep their memory alive." And he was like, "Oh man, I was down there for that cleanup, and I got really fucked up over that, and those fires burned for months." And I'm like, "Man," he was like, "There's no fucking way those planes took that shit down." And I was like, "Man, this guy is like my type of people." And I just ran into this guy today. I'll get contact information for him because he seems like he has a lot of stuff he could tell.
Excellent.
So
Because
he's
he was
also a
there for
firefighter.
not a firefighter, engineer for cleanup efforts.
Okay.
Yes.
So for those that don't know Mikey, he's just a great, lovable brother in the movement.
Guido.
The funniest thing I heard was on 9/11, Joya didn't come down to the ground zero that we were there this past year. Mikey goes over to his house and asks Chris if he would help him fix his truck. So on 9/11, Chris Joya is under Mikey's truck with him fixing it.
You know what? And I felt really bad. I said, "Chris, I really don't want to ask you to do this. I'll happily get it towed home." And he said to me, there's there's no better way I'd like to spend this day than helping one of my friends fix their truck. So I thought that was cool. He's a nice guy. I talk to him like every other day. So we get along on a lot more levels than just 9/11. It's also car stuff. So
Right on.
But can I ask you, because Chris joined us on this call the first week that we had it running, and he hasn't come back since. And you know, we keep trying to like nudge him into getting active again and stuff like that. And he seems to say that he's interested in, you know, stepping back out into the public. I know he took a beating for a while for having done so. But without throwing him under the bus or anything like that, but does he seem to indicate that he wants to get back more involved, or does he still, would he still rather stay back and have us stop harassing him?
No, he never says anything to that degree, but I guess his whole thing is like, I asked him, I remember talking to him the days before the anniversary. I said, Chris, like, what are your thoughts on like this anniversary? And he said, well, Mike, if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen the day of, or it's going to be within a couple months after. But after that, I really don't know what else can be done with this. Because I mean, a whole 20 years have gone by. And if there was anybody that was going to talk from a high level, they would have already done it, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, like, there's like, and I said to him, I'm like, what about your friend, you know, Tommy Hetzel, man? We can't forget about him. We have to keep on keeping on with this. That's how things like this change, you know, the tide changes, is if enough people, old or younger, like myself, get involved. But I think maybe he's kind of thinking similarly to how, I don't know how many of you guys know Julia, but maybe he might be thinking more of taking a break, as in like Julia is doing, which I'm not sure why she's taking a break. Really, I thought she was doing a great
Her
job.
mother died.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that was, and her mother was very sick around the 9/11 anniversary. I remember that. Yeah. Very sad. But I thought she was doing a great job with the things that she was doing. She was doing interviews with Chris and stuff. And she was also doing a lot of internet activism as well. But I don't know. I could ask him to come on next Sunday if you'd like. I don't know. Maybe I know this is, it's hard for this conversation to stay within closed doors because there's so many people on here, but I know that his wife has requested that he not do as much stuff because at one point when he was taking a lot of heat, it was like some of those people were actually going like against his family, which I wouldn't take too kindly to either. So sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. He's not retreating. He's just ducking for cover, you know?
Where was the heat coming from? Was it his fireman, his own guy?
Yeah. It was from whoever was running against him for fire commissioner.
Oh.
Well, hello, you guys. May I say something regarding Chris? I've been corresponding with him, and let me see, the last time was maybe a month ago. But from getting to know him over, you know, since he you know, came onto the scene, you know, he's got to balance his personal life and his activism. And sometimes, you know, 9/11 is all consuming. And like, what is that guy Mike just mentioned? You know, he touched on certain things that yeah, Chris touched on. You know, he's married. She's not an activist, and she does not want to deal with the drama, and you can blame them. So Chris has to do like many advocates, you know, need to do. They need to take a break, and then, you know, more or less earn their keep, and keep the peace at home, and then say, okay, look, I need to take some time, you know, to do a little activism, and hopefully, you know, the people at home will bless them to do so, but don't get carried away. So more or less, it's like a balancing act, you know, that he needs to do, which you can't blame him. So,
well, it wouldn't be the first time that 9/11 wreaked havoc inside a relationship. I mean, that's the thing, when you're when you're invested in 9/11 truth and you're with someone who's not, then it creates a wedge. You know, those couples that function are those where both are on the same page, or at least we have a spouse who's extremely understanding about it and supportive. And it's often not the case. And, you know, a lot of us have lost a lot of things in the process.
Yeah, when I first met Chris, I said to him, I says, yo, I lost my wife with this thing. Okay. I said, you better be careful with that. All right. I said, don't get too gung-ho. You know, I says, you know,
that's him.
this is a woman that you know, she was the one. And over you know, being an activist and all the
May I speak?
all the drama that came in my direction. Just give me a second, Dave. And say hello to all of you guys. And I don't think I was on. Yeah, last week I had to go. But anyway, you know, we could learn from each other's mistakes. We don't need to repeat the same mistakes, and make sure that you know your home is healthy. Make sure that you know you take care of this.
Yeah, but we can't learn from each other's mistakes because every situation is different and every relationship is different, and the issues that we're dealing with are all different. So it's everybody has to walk the path that they feel is the right one for them. And to some people, it may be that the relationship takes precedence over everything. Other people, I tried to juggle it for many, many years until it was just not sustainable anymore. I tried to separate the two for a very long time and it was hard. And other people just say, well, to hell with it. If that's the price I pay, then that's the price I pay.
Yeah.
So.
As far as action items on Chris Gioia, he does, let me share my screen again.
Oh, wait, but David wanted to respond.
Very good, David.
Yes, when he was on, I noted to him that I have a list of all the firefighters who signed the AE petition. It's about 140. And I reached out to all the other firefighters who had attended that Zoom call that the folks in Denver organized. And basically none of them were willing to put in the time to have a regular Zoom meeting within their group. You only really need, one or two or three people to pull that together. Any given person can take off for any given meeting, but basically the problem is, truthers don't like each other. They don't want to have to spend time with each other. Okay, they don't like people. Now, I like to think the firefighters are different and they would really appreciate other firefighters, but I still have that list. And I can't imagine that AE wouldn't let Chris have access to the, I wouldn't have to give it to him. They could give it to him.
Nice. Thank you for that. So Al, back in the day, took this mutual aid request and emailed it, or not emailed, presented it to 500 or so firefighters in the Boston area. There was a snafu with the email on whether Chris got them, and unfortunately Chris says he didn't get a bunch of them. What I would like to do, because this is still a very powerful statement that I would like to be handing out, I was going to make some copies and hand them out, and I thought this is all old information and we definitely wouldn't want it with the letterhead of Franklin Square Munson Fire District. But Mikey, if you would talk with Chris, if we could do a redo on this mutual aid request, just in the name of Chris Gioia, former fire commissioner, we could update this verbiage here on what's happened since. Like now we're at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals over this for our constitutional right to petition a grand jury. So
I'm agnostic, thank you.
Okay. This past Saturday was my birthday, and I started
somebody is sharing something. Thank you, though. My that's when I was down at the Freedom Rally on my birthday. Thanks. So if we could get an updated version of this, because we as activists would like to have things to hand out to help firefighters, help Chris Gioia, help the lawyers, and they got to work with us. So if Chris could help get this updated, we're still trying to work with Mick. He hasn't reached back, contacted me yet on the lawyer's letter that we want to get out. we're trying to build this movement, and we
But the
need,
thing is, I mean, if we need to be able to provide them with a contact person, if Chris doesn't want to be that person, then that's going to kind of leave us a little bit of void
well, they went
of where they
forward
go
on
from
to,
there.
we can forward it on to Paul Simon.
I
Yeah,
need to say a little bit more. The Doug West says that Chris is not doing anything with the website that Doug built for him and that Julia maintained. It is not being dealt with.
Yeah, I know. This is it. It's what we call in the web design world as a graveyard site. You put it up and it sits there and does absolutely nothing.
It's there. We share the link all the time. There's still good information in there. It's still signed.
You're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, so like I was just saying, because I talked to Chris about, the website, but it's there. You can still sign, so you can, show support for the firefighters and so on. And but when he's back, he does what he can. If he participates with the website or not, it's only because of his limitation regarding time.
Somebody needs to deal with it.
Yeah, because I've signed this thing 3 times and my name's still not up here.
wow.
Yeah, well, that might be Doug's responsibility. Somebody can reach out to him and say, what's going on with this list. And I signed it. I don't know if I'm on it, but I know that we've directed as many people as possible. It's on our website. It's right on the top. Support the 9/11.
Yeah, you're there.
Support the 9/11 heroes.
Yeah.
And but anyway, it's still a presence, and there's still information on it. There's still his videos and so on, but he's just not active at this time. But the website is still there, and there's good information on there. And we should
Definitely.
We should continue to promote it.
I agree. Yes. So I do. And one catch-all I have, because we've got 2 entities now for the firefighters. We've got Chris Gioia, which was kind of supposed to be the American side, and we have Paul Simon fielding United Kingdom. And now, because I'm Mr. by domain names, 9/11 Firefighters serves both of them. So you can go to the Firefighters for 9/11 Truth, or you can go, I'll get this out of the way, or you can click on Justice for 9/11 Heroes. That's a nice, again, for activists, when you're on the street, you can't go, oh, I need you to go visit Justice for 9/11 Heroes. No, that's not a 4, it's FO. It's just like, this doesn't work. So just 9/11 Firefighters, you yell that, people can come here. And I think the most important part of this, sharing them, is this Bravo 7. This is the best World Trade Center 7 video, movie, documentary I've seen. It's better than 7. It's better than
7 sucked.
7.
It did. It put me to sleep. They never fucking talked about shit. All they said was, oh, well, if you read the Halsey report, and they never talked about the motherfucker the entire movie. That thing was the worst fucking movie I'd ever seen.
It was very dry.
I would have rather stuck my finger in a fucking electrical outlet for the time I was watching that thing.
So the big problem there was right then there was another argument in AE, and they basically ostracized David Chandler and didn't make him part of that. Like, how can you omit David Chandler with the key evidence of free fall of 7 and not talk about him at all? That was a dry, slow move documentary, but calling out Bravo 7 starts off a little bit slow, but the evidence they get in the end is stuff I haven't even seen. Way more than, what's his name? Help me. Rook.
Tony Rook.
Tony Rook did Uncontrovertible. It was decent, but this is the best World Trade Center 7 documentary.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah.
Are you talking about that new movie that just came out with Richard Mulvey? With the guy whose son is Bobby. What was that movie?
Bobby McElvain. No, that's
McElvain.
movie.
What was that movie that just came out?
That's Unspeakable.
Yeah, that wasn't very good either.
It was slow. We got to kind of understand that we all like a different cup of tea, and they're trying to appeal to the people that are into storytelling and listening to
Right.
the stories. So they're personalizing it.
The
So
human, yeah, the human story.
not go with the technical aspects of it. So those people, it would be appealing. So for you and me, and I think Sandra, it was a little bit slow, but it was trying to appeal to a different type of audience.
To this day, I still think one of the best ones is this one called In Plain Sight. It's an older one, but do you know which one I'm talking about, Gene?
Yeah, with von Kleist.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, I like that one.
There's things in there I can't remember. I think got a little.
But Van Kleist is a whole difference with everybody else is that he says that there was something attached underneath the plane that ignited with the tower. And there is thought that he jimmied some of the evidence, and I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that could be true because I've seen the Naudet film more times than the guys that made the film. Like I literally watched it twice a day, every single day for the last 7 months. And every time you see the plane coming down whatever street that is and strike the North Tower, you can see a flash right before it hits the building. So there's something underneath the plane igniting before it goes into the building. And there's no fucking way that Van Kleist or whatever the fuck his name is, did something to the Naudet brothers film. There's no way.
All right, let me reel this back in because we're getting down the avenue. I just don't want to go down right now. I don't want to get into bitching about evidence. So let's bring this back into activism. David, you wanted to share two things, and I would really like to hear the first one. I'm going to give David the floor here for 10 minutes to talk about nonviolent activism. So David, you're up.
Well,
Do you want to unshare your screen, Gene, so that?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me real quick. Sorry, I should have introduced this a little differently. 198 methods, non-violence. David, you could probably speak better than I can about this, but back in the 70s, I think there was a guy named Gene Sharp, and he wrote a book called I've gone out, where'd it go?
Nonviolent Action. It's a 3-part book. It's
Yes.
3 books in a set.
Yes, thank you. And I have them. This is the one I'm looking for. Gene Sharp's 198 Methods of Nonviolent Action. And again, he doesn't have like right memes and stuff because this was written back in the 70s. But some of the stuff here really appeals to us. For instance, communications with a wider audience, slogans, banners, posters, leaflets, newspapers, the simple stuff that we understand. But when you get a larger group and you get down to some of these other ones, they're talking about boycotts, withdrawal of bank deposits, action by holders of financial resources, really putting the foot to the man on trying to get change in things. So these were just an amazing list of nonviolent actions. And David, the last thing I'll say before I hand this over to you, I wanted to do a silent sit-in in World Trade Center 7 in 2017. And David strongly cautioned me about provocateurs and the fact that you could have anybody there that could be with the police department or somebody else that wants to disrupt it. And it doesn't take much. And he implored with me, please just get a little bit of training on nonviolent action so you can be aware of what to expect, to be cautious of. So thank you for that, David. I threw caution to the wind and it never actually went off like I wanted to, but
Nothing was hurt though. So.
No, right.
I actually knew Gene Sharp. He died at age 90 about 3 years ago. And he had a program on nonviolent sanctions at Harvard. He was a professor at UMass Dartmouth, but he had Sharp was considered the greatest scholar of nonviolence in the world. And his successor, Erica Chenoweth, is worth paying attention to. She was at the University of Denver. Now she's at Harvard. She's actually a professor at Harvard. And it's important to know about Gene Sharp's 198 different types of action is that a friend of mine from DC, who's a nonviolent trainer, Michael Beer, has written a sequel to that, and it just came out this past year, and you can get a PDF of it. I could get you a PDF of it, and it's not 198 different types of action. It's 346. You might expect that, you know, with the cyberspace, there's a lot of new possibilities. I remember at one point, I've been active since '02, and I remember at one point, I don't know, 5 years ago, more, that I said to myself, I know less than one person in the 9/11 Truth Movement per year who has any serious background in nonviolence. And when I was first active in '02 and '03, and I was just on these listservs, I was struck that the consciousness of nonviolence by truthers is essentially the same as the consciousness by the average citizen, which is, I'm nonviolent because I didn't hit anybody today. And the big thing that people are missing, I'm glad that nobody there has started any fights. I wouldn't be surprised if none of you have ever started a fight, you know, certainly since you were kids. But what's really important is not any given act, it's the approach. The approach is crucial. I mean, for instance, the climate crisis folks in Britain like to throw paint, and there's Americans who do that too. And now it's chalk-based paint, so it's easy to wash off, which means something to me. The public doesn't know that. I am the only person I know of who says that the jurists understand nonviolence better than the protesters. The judges realize it's not in the interest of people in power to have people considered honorable in jail. I got arrested in 18 and 19 in North Carolina, where I live, and neither judge initially would give me a sentence at all, even though I pled guilty. The max for the one in 19 would have been 5 months. And the max for the one in 18 would have been 20 days. And they wouldn't give me a sentence. And what they do is that they want to make it so that if you've only acted honorably, they won't put you in jail. But if they could get you to escalate into what the public might be considered dishonorable action, then they're happy to oblige you, like throwing paint or breaking windows. There's a phrase that's come in this country called diversity of tactics. And that's used by folks who really don't like nonviolence. And they're not interested, they're not trying to kill anybody. They just want to be wild. It's cool. And I know of no important teacher of nonviolence who supports diversity of tactics. I mean, sadly, there are two women who are part of the Catholic Worker Program, that's Catholic Worker Movement, that one of them's doing 8 years in jail because they set fire to a bulldozer and destroyed some big equipment. This was out on the pipeline issue. And that's not something that the Plowshares activists would do. But she, you know, I mean, she's a sincere person and no one was hurt. But it's not that, you know, well, no one was hurt. Well, fire frightens people. And my standard is really not as good. I'm not happy with my standard, but my standard for a long time was, as long as you don't frighten people, I don't mind. But a better way to look at it is the difference between Gandhi's approach, which is, he used the term for satyagraha, holding fast to the truth or putting your whole weight on the truth, as compared to duragraha, satyagraha, holding fast to the truth, duragraha, which he considers that the opposite, or an
Hang on
attempt.
1 second. Hold that thought. I just want to, Ross, you're coming in. David right now is explaining about nonviolent action to us. David, just real quick, what you're basically saying is like the chalk, the throwing the paint with the chalk. It's not so much that that wouldn't be considered nonviolent, but it's the it's how the people seeing it perceive it to be violent.
I mean, people in their 50s consider people in their 20s to be naturally rowdy.
Yes.
Okay. And even if in your 50s and you're rowdy, you're still rowdy. I mean, basically, a lot of people, you know, it's better to write your congressman. Why can't you just do that?
Right.
I mean, as we all know, the term write your congressman is a wisecrack that people now use to tell someone who's complaining about something, which has nothing to do with Congress. But, write your congressman. That's a wisecrack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with lobbying and organizing pressure on elected officials. But the reality is that the people with real money, they know how to chip away at any decision that's even already been made.
Yes.
They know what they're doing.
David, I have a question for you because I'd like you to speak a little bit more on specifics in terms of how, because if I'm understanding nonviolent activism, it's basically, it's active nonviolence, specifically not passive nonviolence, active nonviolence, right?
There's no such thing as passive nonviolence. Gandhi created the term satyagraha because he disliked the term passive resistance, which is a commonly used term.
Right, that's what I'm referring to. But so my question is, for example, people who decide to protest whatever the issue is by, let's say, by blocking a street, or, you know, sometimes you have cars that decide that they're going to drive along a highway, a 3-lane highway, and they're just going to drive at 10 miles an hour and hold everyone back behind them just to raise awareness. And it's not technically violent, but it holds people hostage who have nothing to do with the situation. And the argument is always, well, you know, you got to piss people off because, you know, you're pissed off about a situation. And unless you piss other people off, they're not even going to be made aware of it. I have trouble with that kind of protest action because it does put people in a position that they didn't choose to be in. And I think about those people who have to be, you know, at a doctor's appointment or at the hospital or at the airport, and they're stuck in this thing and they can't do anything. But so where would you fit that in terms of protest action? Would you consider that peaceful? Would you consider that nonviolent?
Well, and that's a completely fair question because it is so popular. I mean, nonviolence is most renownedly used now by the climate crisis activists in Britain. There's some people doing months in jail because they blocked a big highway with a banner that was across a big highway with a few dozen of them. I agree that that is weak. I enjoyed it because it was very powerful. And the reality is that it isn't just the people in power who are, I am a climate crisis activist. It's not just the people in power with all the money who are the problem. They are largely the problem. But the public's attitude is, well, we can get around to that sometime. No, you know, anybody who's 20 is not going to get to have a full life. Okay, and certainly children are not going to get to have full lives. And people say, well, I won't be here. You know, I mean, Greta Thunberg said has a video where she's it's called "I Am Greta," and she speaks at age 16 to the European Union Assembly of several hundred representatives, and she says, "I say to the politicians, you're not doing what you should be doing," and they say back to me, "But the public wouldn't understand." And then she says that they're right; the public wouldn't understand. So that implies that the average citizen who is not being an activist is part of the problem too. But there's something called diversity of tactics. This is really important to understand. It's an American concept done by the Movement for a New Society out of Philadelphia during the Vietnam era. And it's a simple concept. I can explain it without a diagram. You have you on one side and the activist, your opponent on the other side, and you have neutrals in the middle. And in between the neutrals and you are your active supporters and passive supporters or sympathizers. And on the other side, similarly, their active supporters and their passive supporters or sympathizers. And Gandhi actually was concerned about touching the hearts of everybody. But when you block traffic, which there's a lot worse than that, then you're basically saying anybody who isn't an active supporter of mine, fuck you. That's what you're doing. You're saying you don't care about having the support of the public, which is stupid. There's I have a friend born in 50 like me. He's one of the great people I've ever known. He lives without a name. He's from West Virginia originally. He's in Tennessee now. And he grew up Quaker. He did several years in jail for refusing to register for the draft. And he said to me not that long ago, he said, in nonviolence, the activist makes the sacrifice rather than the adversary. That way, if you make a mistake, you don't have to apologize.
Real quick, Richard, thank you for joining. We're getting through it. We had asked David last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, to speak out on nonviolent actions, and he's just getting through his presentation now. I'd love to hear what you have to say after that. But thank you for joining, sir.
I'm sorry, I missed most of the conversation. I just was alerted by a side individual to get me plugged in, so.
Yeah,
I
we
really haven't
appreciate you
been-
having here. We just want to let David finish up his points about nonviolent activism, and then, yeah, we would like to hear from you very much.
There's only one more thing I want to say. One of my favorite, I was only arrested protesting on behalf of 9/11 Truth Movement once in 2006 at the movie World Trade Center by Oliver Stone, which was showing in Rockville where I live. And I just was going to leaflet on their property. It looks like a normal, public sidewalk, but it's private property. I checked it out. I went to the movie theater before and I said, I'm going to come down on so-and-so day and I'm going to leaflet and, I'll be arrested and nobody will be harassed. You don't have to be afraid of anything. It's very important to me to make sure that anybody who could be frightened, the idea, I'm 5'3", how could anybody be frightened? But in any case, I come down on the day that there were 5 media there, including U.S. News and World Report and a local TV station. And the movie theater was clever enough that they did not order me to stop leafleting. So I was not arrested. Okay.
On private property.
Right.
Wow.
They didn't tell me I had to stop. It's not for the police to decide whether or not I have a right to be there. It's whether or not they told me not to.
Right.
So then I went 2 days later on my own without any support to leaflet, and 3 police officers gathered around me and said, we don't really want to arrest you. And I said, and I took this from Alex Jones, who's hardly a well-known advocate of nonviolence. He got arrested in New York City the year before, and he praised the police for their professionalism. And I said, I'm sure your top priority is professionalism, and I have no complaints. So they did arrest me, and many hours later, one officer who processed me let me go. And he was trying to decide whether or not to keep me for the night. And he said, you know, you seem to know what you're doing. And that's one of the favorite moments of my life, is to have the police officer say that to me. And I did go to court a couple of months later, and I gave the Gandhian plea, which I'd wanted to give for 25 years. My friends in Britain really love this plea from Gandhi, but they didn't do it. And I said, if you believe in what you're doing, give me your stiffest sentence. If you don't, resign. And he did actually give me the stiffest sentence, suspended, which is a year and a half. But I was so despised by all the 9/11 truth activists in DC, I did not go back.
Huh. Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the topic of nonviolent action gets even more complicated. I think the big takeaway for me there is that what you consider nonviolent in the eyes of someone else may be perceived as violent, like the older generation, like he just said, that while you may be out there hollering and protesting peacefully, somebody walking by that's 80 years old and from, you know, the golden generation sees that yelling as scary and violent. So these are hurdles that we need to.
Violent, it's rowdy.
Rowdy is a better, yeah. Okay.
Less than fully honorable.
Yeah. Things we need to think about. Thank you, David, very much. Mikey, would you, since you've talked so long to Richard already, if you'd like to give us a little, like a precursor to what you've talked to him about and how you came to meet him?
Sure. So there's a group on Facebook called 9/11 Truth Movement or something, and I actually believe that's where I met a lot of you guys at one point. I don't think that group is a very valid way of getting some good information at this point, because there's not a lot of seems to be a lot of bots on there. But during the later days, when I saw a lot of you credible people were not posting on there anymore, I saw Richard had posted something that had seemed worthy of requiring some attention. So I asked for him to give me his contact information, and immediately he thought I was some type of like suit, like black coat guy, like trying to get him in trouble or some shit. But actually I could be the farthest from. So we had spoke on the phone for plus or minus an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. And he seemed to have a lot of information about things that he had seen. And he's also former military as well, with some clearances from my understanding. And at the end of our conversation on Facebook, he said something along the lines of, and I could look it up on my messenger, but it said something along the lines of like, you know, I'm 50 years old. I've been thrown out of a window. I've been ran over by a tank, blah, blah, blah. And I just like want to get all this shit off my plate, you know, before something happens to me. And I thought that was really fucking cool. So obviously there's a story to be told. I don't know if it'll really coincide with what we're talking about here, but this is the first time that we've been able to get together with some real good heads here. So I was wondering if he could have a chance to speak about some things that he knows.
Thank you for that, Mikey. And Richard, the floor is yours, sir.
No, I really don't know where to begin, to be honest. There's just lots of points to touch upon. Too many different aspects and variables. Like Mikey said that he found me on the 9/11 Truth Movement on Facebook. And, you know, that some of the individuals I thought I'd be able to confide in, and you know, I figured just unload some of this information that's haunting me for the past, I don't know, several years, 15 years or so. And apparently there's a lot of people that just look at it as, oh, well, if this, and then that, and, you know, who are you? And it just Man, I was there on the ground. I was picking through the pile myself.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the one highlight that I can honestly say is that when I was on orders to work state active duty, I was with the New York National Guard at the time, and I come from an aviation unit up the island in Ronkonkoma. And while I was out there stationed at what was it, one of the multiple armories, whether it was either Bedford Avenue Armory or Marcy Avenue Armory, or even over at Fort Hamilton itself. I do recall an evening. It was very late. It was probably about maybe, I don't know, I'd say somewhere around midnight-ish, or maybe just before. And one of my NCOs comes out of a tent. Well, hold that. Let me back it up just a little bit more.
Okay.
They had an observation tent, all right, like a checkpoint tent.
Are we talking
And
pre 9/11 right now?
This is 9/11 after the buildings came down.
Okay.
This is in Lower Manhattan.
On
Yep.
that day?
No, not that day.
Okay.
No, that's the very day that the planes impacted. I was in Germany over at Kaiserslautern, and we watched it on television over in Germany. And then about was it 8 days later, they had us all flown home because we were
Okay.
all New York National Guard, so we had to get back
Okay.
to our units.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is sometime probably around, I want to say somewhere in November, December-ish. I'm really fuzzy on the exact date.
That's
Okay.
good.
Just to give an
But,
idea.
I was manning a checkpoint that was on the inside perimeter. There's like 3 layers of perimeters. You have an outer perimeter, a moderate perimeter, and then an inner one. The inner one, basically, my duty was to allow certain dump trucks to come through with proper identification. Certain personnel, like first responders that had the proper identification and credentials. Everybody else that didn't need to be there, photographers, people just wandering around, those individuals had to be extradited from that particular area. And most likely they were either put onto the back of a 5-ton truck and hauled off somewhere, either to Fort Hamilton or one of the armories in the city, or maybe even up into the Bronx. I'm not quite sure exactly. But according to my job, I was supposed to stay there and act as such. Now, toward the end of that evening, I see stretchers coming into this tent, and I think, oh well, we got some human remains. Those 3 stretchers, they're all covered, and you had like 8 people bring them into the tent. Didn't think nothing of it. Just okay, yeah, he hit me. We got human remains from whatever happened. Moments later, my NCO comes out and he says, "This point is being closed down permanently. You're going to be redirected over to another checkpoint." And I says, "Really? What's the big deal? What's going on?" And he kind of said, "Come over here," under his breath. And he says, "Well, do you know what was on those stretchers?" And I blatantly says, "Well, bodies, body parts, human remains." And he says, "No." He says, "Those were the black boxes."
Oh.
I said, "The black boxes?" He says, "Shh, don't advertise. Just between you and me, these are the black boxes." And it says, "Really? So what's going on?" It's like, "You never heard this from me. You're being ordered to go someplace else. We never spoke. Okay, just pack your gear and go." And I was like, "All right." So at the end of that conversation, I looked over my shoulder, and there was like two black the black SUVs that they use, just speeding off after they got packed up. And within moments, that tent was broken down and the whole checkpoint was closed.
FBI.
And I just, all right, well, I have to get out of there. I'm ordered to go somewhere else. So
While they
really-
were breaking it down, can I ask, did you see anybody with FBI gear or anything identifying on the
oh yeah,
back?
that was one of the 3-letter agency sites,
Mhm.
and I was there. So
Damage
who
control.
the
They,
individuals were exactly? It's anybody's guess.
right. Interesting.
It could be NSA, no such agency. It could be FBI. It could be CIA. I really don't know.
Right.
As far as I know, they had the black Federal SUVs, the Suburbans, tinted out windows. They packed up whatever was inside there and gone.
So does anybody else know how this coincides with Jesse Ventura did that special, and I think he had found 3 of the 4 black boxes were
Did he?
found, but since then nobody has any existence of them. Any
Well,
demand on where they
yeah,
went.
that's been a point of issue. Where are they if they came out?
Yeah.
And another point of issue that kind of sort of coincides with that is individuals saying online, oh, well, people are using cell phones and they were talking to their families after the planes impacted the buildings and things as such. And I said, well, that's possible if the plane actually landed somewhere. Now, getting to that issue, what was it, Flight 93 it was, that went over to, what, Pennsylvania, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Flight 93 was already confirmed by the Federal Aviation Administration and the governor of Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, I heard this.
Okay,
Yeah.
when it landed and the
Where?
passengers were being disembarked from the aircraft. But within 20 minutes, that story completely changed, and the governor gets back on and he starts changing this whole entire story.
The mayor of Cleveland.
Mayor, governor, I don't remember actually. But, hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Now, there's this thing that we use in aviation, it's changing tail numbers. Now, when you have an unknown aircraft coming from one trajectory, and then another aircraft from another trajectory, when they cross on the radar, they can literally pass off their tail numbers. All right, electronically pass off their tail numbers, and they'll still travel in their directions, except now the unknown aircraft now becomes a tail numbered ID aircraft. The tail number ID aircraft goes on as unknown in the opposite direction again. And
Okay.
that's pretty frequently done from flight operations. We've been able to conduct that with our own helicopters, as a matter of fact, over here in Ronkonkoma.
But to what end would that be done? What would be the purpose of that?
To
Why?
be honest, I don't know really, but I know it is capable of being done though.
Oh, no, I don't dispute the capability, but when you say that it's being done, I'm just wondering what would be the reason for that in the first
Well,
place?
say for instance, okay, here's an example. I'll use this as an example. This one might be good. Say for instance, Air Force One, okay, lands and the president is no longer on that aircraft, and he goes to a different aircraft that's not part of the arsenal. Now that aircraft now becomes Air Force One.
Mm-hmm.
Along those guidelines.
Yeah.
And then that aircraft that he just left resumes as whatever aircraft it was beforehand, before it was marked as Air Force One.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest analogy as I can come up with.
So a plane that is not Air Force One would be basically identified as being such.
It would be like a Marine One or Army One, something as such. or whatever its capabilities would be, or whatever its tail number would be.
Okay, so going back to Shanksville,
Okay, well, going back to Shanksville, in theory, if that aircraft had already landed in Cleveland, now mind you, 9 miles east of that airport, there's a FEMA facility just 9 miles east. Now, if that aircraft did land or was actually disembarked by all its passengers, what crashed out there in Shanksville? Mystery. Well, here's the issue. When you first looked at all the news feeds that first came out, I mean, right within the first few moments, you'll see that there was local responders on site, yes. But as soon as the federal agencies came down and took over the scene, those local first responders were pushed out to a 10-mile radius of that site. Why? They're first responders, right?
Yeah.
So now you have these federal agents on the site, and they're donned in their white suits, and they got flamethrowers, and they're burning the trees. Why in God's name are they burning the trees?
Is that eyewitness account you're saying?
Well, that's from what I've seen and what a couple other people seen. And I was like, well, why would they burn the trees? Well, past memory, well, to get rid of any residual chemicals that was found on the tree itself. Okay, so basically they're scrubbing a crime scene, in my opinion.
or
But,
maybe making it look like you know, that making it look like the aftermath of a crash.
Well, okay, when you're trained to deal with aircraft, all right, they got this little thing in the back of your logbook or the back of your maintenance book, right? And you know, I'm personally, I'd have to come into work every day, sign for an aircraft. It's my aircraft, let's just say. And let's just say, for instance, you know, I do the preliminary checks and services, fuel it up, you know, make sure it's got whatever it needs on to properly fly. Then armament comes out, they put on any arms it needs. Fuelers come out, they do their fueling routine. Then it's my job to spool it up with the pilot, co-pilot. They run up the aircraft. I go around, do my maintenance checks. Okay, you're all set to fly. Have a nice day, right? Now, in the back of those logbooks, if that aircraft were to crash, we have a crash grid, okay, to collect and find all the remains of that aircraft.
Mhm.
Now, if you're also on point, who was it? Not in this. Was it? Guys, caught me off guard today. The agency that goes out, the Transportation Bureau. They go out, if a commercial airplane goes down, they go to find out why.
Yes.
The FAA, you mean?
I'm sorry?
The FAA, you mean?
No, not them. NTSB.
There you go.
That's the one I'm groping for. They would go out, they'd go to find out why, where, and find out all these answers. Correct? Are we all in agreement on this?
Yep.
Okay. Well, likewise, they would have a grid on this little piece of paper that shows you where all the components and every part would normally go and how much of that aircraft, whether it's 10%, 60%, or 100% of the aircraft has been recovered. It all goes on that grid. Well, who was doing that over in Shanksville? How much of that aircraft actually got found? Does anybody know?
I can speak to that.
Please tell me. I'd love to hear it.
Just one, right before you say that though, I want to share this. If I can. There we go.
Yeah.
This is Flight 800. They got shot down off the coast of the Bronx And this is
Yes,
how
I
much of the
was
plane,
there for that.
this is how much they were able to collect of that plane that he's talking about. NTSB comes in, reassembles the crime scene. Look how
Yes,
much of that plane they were able to gather up. Now go
I
ahead.
would say about maybe 97% of that aircraft is there, and 88%.
Nice. David, you were going to say?
I can't answer the exact question, but the person I respect the most about 9/11 is my friend David Cole.
Yes.
He says that there was a large amount of debris retained by the local officials in Shanksville, and he is convinced that the plane hit the ground.
He's
Okay.
convinced.
But that didn't answer the question. The question was how much of the plane was found by NTSB?
All I'm saying is the reason I changed my position on Shanksville from somebody who thought that it was shot down to someone who thought that it crashed on its own is because of what David Cole told me. And he, of course, does not know what percentage of the plane has been retrieved, but he is convinced that it hit the ground in Shanksville, not several miles apart.
Well, let me shed some light onto that just a little bit. Working with aircraft, it's a very important job to keep those pilots in the air. All right, so it's very imperative that every part is collected, analyzed, and future amends are made to make sure that these aircraft do not fall out of the sky. Now, granted, it was a terrorist act, quote unquote, terrorist act, where it was supposedly flown straight into the ground. Are we in agreement with that?
I
That's
don't
the
know
official story.
You know, the United States is the main terrorist on earth. So I'm not, you know, I would agree that it was a terrorist act, but
well,
what I mean by terrorist and what other people mean are two different things.
Yeah.
Well, we have to take in consideration. Right now, it's a mystery. All right. One count we have it landing. Another account, it says it blew up over, what, 10, 20 miles of airspace. Then we have another account saying that it impacted the ground. Look at the facts. One, you have how many gross tons is that aircraft, and how many passengers were aboard? Now, similarly to like TWA Flight 800, which I was also there for that back in the day, but you can look at these aircraft. If the aircraft blew up in midair and there was 20 miles of wreckage, where is it? And why hasn't it been sought through? People say, everything just evaporated. Sorry, aluminum and titanium and those materials, they just don't evaporate.
Right.
They do not. There's certain temperature requirements for the engine. There's certain temperature requirements for the aluminum, even the plastic that holds your luggage over in the overhead. Okay, and for the most part, most of the stuff is supposed to be fire retardant. You know, it's sort of like my uniform. My uniform was made out of Nomex, which is a fire retardant material. That way, it doesn't stick to your skin and burn your skin completely off, like most of the nylons. Now,
I think what you're getting at is the fact that whatever we got from that, they did not come up with nearly anything of what was the original plane.
To some degree, yes. But whether or not it's true or not, it's anybody's guess.
Right.
My point is the amount of wreckage that has been found, according to what they've been putting on the TV, any visual specs on the news, it doesn't appear, I'm sorry, the light's a little messed up. It doesn't appear to be that's full wreckage. I mean, did you see the size of the compressor of the engine that they picked up? It was rather small to be a 737 compressor engine.
57.
Very small. So I'm thinking, well, what do we have that has a compressor that small? And like I was telling Mike earlier this year, we have cellulose encased laser guided smart bombs. Okay, hence that would coincide to the reason why they're burning the residue off the trees, so no one would figure out what it was. And we also have, what was it, submarine and standard launch Tomahawk cruise missiles, of which have the same size turbine fans. So, to me, in my opinion, that engine scrap that they showed on TV for the public to look at, which was authorized by whoever it was that put it on TV, that does not match up to a 737 aircraft, plain and simple.
757, but yeah, okay.
That was a 757?
Yeah, there were 757s were.
737. 737-500.
Oh, maybe I'm off. I know for a fact 767s in Manhattan, 767s in Manhattan, 757 at Pentagon.
Pentagon, yeah.
And I thought 93 was set. You're saying 737. All right, my bad then.
I believe it's the 737, but
Okay.
you're on point with the ones for the twin towers, as far as I know. But okay, we have that. So, well, which is it? Is it they landed? Did it impact the ground? Well, according to what NTSB is saying, is it impacted the ground, and here's the wreckage. Well, that wreckage doesn't coincide with the size parameters for that size aircraft. No way in hell.
757, 222. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So you go back and then you look at, well, if there's people scrubbing the area, why would they be scrubbing the area? So we already said, well, they're trying to cover up something.
Mhm.
Well, what do we have in our arsenal that can literally evaporate?
Smart.
Well,
smart.
it's a cellulose encased bomb. All right. So basically, the bomb will actually search its way out from after being launched, and then it will just guide right into a certain point and then explode and detonate, and the whole entire thing is gone. It just, once it blows up, there's nothing left of it. You can't find any pieces of it. That's what a cellulose encase does.
So then okay, so but they basically did produce some pieces, just like at the Pentagon, they produced some pieces.
Right, which do not, they are not parts of an aircraft engine as far as an aircraft that size.
Right, so what would those pieces have been? They would have been, I mean.
It would be, my best guess is they were either afterburner or compressor stages of a much smaller turbine engine.
Could they have been just planted pieces?
Well, that's a possibility. Like I said, the local law enforcement and the local first responders at that site were pushed out to a 10-mile radius.
Yeah.
And then all the trucks started coming in, and everything leaving that site was under a tarp.
Yes. See if I can find a video clip.
Now, from my experience, yeah, I mean, our federal agents would come in, or federal agencies, and they form their own perimeter, and they determine who has right to be in there. Usually the higher echelons are allowed to go in and get firsthand view, whereas people that don't need to know, that they don't go in there.
Right.
Now, take a look at the size of the crater is a second point. Now, I've seen a lot of jet and jumbo jet crashes, whether it be online or in person, and that hole does not seem to match that size aircraft again, which it defeats me. I'm like, well, what makes a crater explode like that? If it was an airplane, it would pretty much implode. It would crush like a tin can, and there'd be wreckage all over the place because it's a lighter material. It's a passenger jet. There's luggage. There's plastic pieces everywhere. But we didn't have that in this case.
Well, I mean, there's a theory that says that the plane literally planted itself into the ground. That it almost.
In which case, there would be lots and lots of wreckage.
The debunkers, what they'll say is that it was actually a landfill and it was not properly compacted. So it wasn't like it was hitting clay ground. It was hitting an uncompacted fill site.
I thought it was a farm of some kind.
Yeah. So it wasn't clay ground. So they were trying to make it sound like, okay, the ground was soft enough to envelop the plane. Was where they were going with that.
May I say something?
Well, if that's the case, then who's got the shovels? Let's dig it out of the mud.
Yeah, great.
Right?
Yeah, Claudio, real quick, go ahead.
Real quick. I was talking to my son. This is early on. He's known his 20s. Smart.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you?
Yeah, you're really quiet, brother.
Where your volume is really low.
All right. Mike.
Or just get closer to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
A little better, thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. I was talking to my son. He's in his 20s. This is when I first learned about 9/11. He was hip to 9/11, but he would never tell me, but he did say, 9/11 was an inside job, early in the morning one time at breakfast time. And we were running, Russian. And so I just didn't pay attention. But so when I discovered, World Trade Center 7, I woke up about 9/11, and I go and we start talking about 9/11, father and son. And he says to me, it was like a cartoon that day. Everything that happens in a cartoon happened on 9/11, and that's what the official story, spouted. The airplane disappeared in Shanksville. It just got buried and swallowed up in the earth. The plane went into the Pentagon, and just, the wings, closed up, and he snuck in there. And then the pancake theory, that was a cartoon. It's like, so if it was a cartoon, you would accept it, but this happened in real life. And that's the scary part, is that people believed a cartoon, as real life. And, anyway, so I just wanted to say that because you guys were talking about, Gene, especially, that it became it's a dump. So all of a sudden, to this day, they couldn't find the wreckage, correct? Anything?
They say there's parts.
They say a lot of things, don't they?
I know, it's so hard to get actual evidence.
I want to shed some light onto that also. As far as ever since NTSB has been actively functioning and operating, every aircraft that has crashed or exploded or went down for whatever reason, their investigators have been Johnny on the spot collecting the parts of those aircraft.
Right.
Look around the whole world. Every aircraft has been found, located, and or pieced back together to find out the reasons, if not already known, why it crashed.
That's standard operating procedure, right? But 9/11, what happened? What happened to all the, forget about, and then a surveillance videos on the Pentagon disappeared, and I'm like,
that's a joke. I mean,
Jesus, Lord have mercy.
Well, first of all, with the Pentagon itself, granted, there was submarines in the Chesapeake Bay at the time conducting missions out there, and they claimed that they had the military systems were down at the time, the defense systems. Who in their right mind that controls the government says, "Oh, well, we're just going to shut down our national defense grid for a few moments to play around and tweak something"?
Mm-hmm.
Who in their right mind does that? That's ridiculous, unheard of.
Right.
But anyway, moving on. the submarine that they had out in the Chesapeake Bay was a submarine that was capable of launching a submarine-launched Tomahawk missile. Now, since they've proved over and over again that a large jumbo jet can't fly that low, no pilot can do it, over that low, up and over a berm, and then into the side of a building at what? How many feet off the ground? Can't be done. We in agreement with that?
Unless it was remote controlled?
Even if it was remote controlled, that there's not enough lift being generated to keep that aircraft in the air to go up, over, back down, and back on course over that berm. I've been in DC, and I know what berm they're talking about. There's no way in hell a plane can change its trajectory that fast, going at over 150 miles an hour. No way in hell. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Whereas a Tomahawk cruise missile is designed to do just that, fly nap of the earth, meaning it can fly low altitude where it won't be seen on radar, and it can go up and over, around, and do a whole bunch of different little things before it makes contact with its impact point. That is very viable. Whereas a jumbo jet, also, same problems arose. Okay, well, where is the rest of the wreckage? Yes, they pulled out wreckage, but it was substantial. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, what about the wingspan? Oh, well, the aircraft came in on an angle like this. And okay, well, if that's the case, well, he would have had some major problems after he got up and over that berm. You know, and it takes how long to control the aircraft to actually, it's not a fighter plane. This thing is bigger than a bomber. It's fully loaded with passengers and fuel and luggage. It can't just turn on a dime like a fighter plane. Again, retrospect to that, we have a Tomahawk cruise missile or a laser guided bomb, which can do that and produce that result exactly. Time and time again.
Can you explain again to me? I'm just trying to understand the part where you say that the plane would have needed to go up and then back down. We're talking about up over what part exactly?
Okay. You have the Pentagon building here, correct?
Right.
And right, just maybe a parking lot distance away, you have like a berm where the highway would be.
Yeah, the Navy Annex was over there.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Now, a plane coming in, okay, to fly that low, if he was coming in on a trajectory like this, on a downward trajectory, he would have done damage to just the two outer buildings of the Pentagon. Whereas this proved go into almost the fourth building in. Yes?
Okay.
And almost the fifth, the center of the Pentagon almost.
Hang on.
There's a question. The only question that's wrong is the one that hasn't been asked.
Man, I got cut off right when I was just listening to what you were saying. Thank goodness for archives, you know. Yeah, no, the lights went out. They flickered, you know. So, and that's it. The internet, you know, you lose everything.
But yes, an aircraft, it cannot maneuver as easily as a smaller, more agile aircraft.
I understand all that, but I was just trying to understand what the impossibility was that you were referring to.
Well,
because is it possible? I mean, and I'm playing devil's advocate, but I mean, is it possible that it didn't go all the way down and back up? Could it just have gone straight down and landed at ground level?
They show the pictures. They show the pictures of what seemed to be a jet on the closed circuit TV footage. Yes, we agree on that.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to right now.
The one from the security checkpoint, which is right next to the building, close to the point of impact. They had where that missing frame.
Oh yeah, you mean the 5 frames there?
Right, they showed an aircraft, or what looked like an aircraft, in the first couple phases, correct?
Right.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, with the theory of the aircrafts passing midair, changing tail numbers. And one, mind you, by the way, that was the same period that our military was dabbling around with remote controlled commercial airliners at that time. So it wouldn't be very impossible for them to get an aircraft that is remotely controlled, loaded with high explosives, to actually do the things that that aircraft did,
Right. Okay.
such as go down below radar and fly at such a gravitational force, which would probably make the pilot uncomfortable, and crash into the side of the Pentagon building. Savvy?
Here's what I want to share. You finally found it. So this is the Pentagon Building Performance Report from the government. A lot of people aren't familiar with the construction of the Pentagon, and this is really, really important to understand.
Yes.
This is where the impact was, over here where my mouse is.
Gotcha.
Where it hit was a connected building straight through where the punch out hole was. It did not go into a building, out of building, into a building, out of a building, into another building, out of a building. It went into a building and out of a building, of the official story. So when you see, let me bring something else up here. Where's all my stuff? Over here. I have 3 monitors, just too craziness. Give me 1 second. 9/11, Pentagon, images. So when you see stuff like, yikes.
It wasn't that hole wasn't even like that originally. Originally, it was just a freaking hole like this big, and then it collapsed.
You're talking about the punch out hole. 2 different things here. So this up to here, up to this floor right here where I'm at,
Right.
that's a continuous building straight to where it punched out.
Gotcha.
Only here is where it comes in and out.
In which case, that section would have collapsed on because there was no support under it. Hence the reason why you could see all
There.
that roof there.
So what you can see right here is this is continuous building going through.
Right.
That's where like you would step, if you were on this floor, you'd step outside and you'd be standing on ground right here. So you're actually standing on the roof of this building in the middle.
Right.
Let me see what else. And I'm trying to get to what Mikey was talking about so people get confused, because they originally showed this little tiny hole. That was the punch. There we go. This is even better. This is all a continuous building on these floors. This floor right here is continuous the whole way through.
Yes.
It's not until you get to here where, so what they're saying, the official story is it hit and went through all these columns and building and then punched out. Again, it did not go in and out, in and out, in and out. It just did not do that.
Now, mind you, that there is a hardened facility, mind you.
Yeah, cartoons, man.
It's a hardened facility.
I'm telling you, Jesus.
It's not, if an aircraft were to hit that, more than likely there would be damage of the aircraft, not so much of the building.
Yeah, right there, a little back up a little bit was that hole.
Well,
yeah, originally that's all there was.
So when the firefighters sprayed their spray, it covered this whole bottom floor, and all anybody ever saw was this little tiny couple section that they totally missed the bottom floor. Like, and I think I have that in here. I would hope I did, and then I don't. Unfortunately, a lot of the pictures we see is that stream covering up this lower area. And then there is the punch out hole that everyone mistakes as the entrance hole, and that is definitely not the entrance hole.
No, definitely not.
I got to bring that up because this is just ridiculous. Pentagon exit hole. This, everyone, this is not the entrance hole.
Yeah,
No,
that,
no.
yeah, no,
Okay.
that's definitely, I agree with that.
I've seen people, there's even an animation that shows it, and they're like, how could that happen? And they show this picture. I'm like, no, my gosh, you're on the other end
Okay,
of the,
so now that you have the exit hole, okay? Now take that consideration with, let's just say, a tank and a depleted uranium round. All right.
area.
Basically, a depleted uranium round is a sable round that'll impact the exterior hull of a tank, burn its way through the wall, burn everything up inside, then continue through another hole and suck everything that was inside out.
I hear you.
That hole
That makes
is
a lot
very
more sense.
similar to what we would use in our arsenal, which would be either a laser-guided cellulose-encased bomb or a Tomahawk cruise missile, if not a submarine-launched cruise missile.
This is
Because
where
look
I
at the
would-
size of that hole. That's the conforming shape of whatever it was that was inside those pictures of the airplane that supposedly impacted that building.
right.
We tracking?
For the most part, I just so you know, to preface this, the Pentagon, I loathe this topic because this is the most divisive topic in the 9/11 truth movement. Richard Gage, if you're familiar with Richard Gage at all, Richard Gage is going to very soon, I would say in the next couple of weeks here, he's going to start inviting everyone from their different perspectives, give them a chance to be able to present their evidence. There right now are 3 different theories, or actually 2 theories, and one's an amalgamation of theories. One is that there was a large plane did hit the building. The second theory is that a large plane flew over the building and something else hit the building, whether it was a bomb in the building or a missile or whatnot. And then the third is Barbara Honegger's view, which is an amalgamation of those 2. It even includes like a helicopter, like that there was actually a Black Hawk that landed in the inner ring, and that was cutter charges blowing into the building to go and set something, and then they took off again. So
No, you can tell by the exit of that hole, everything was coming from the inside out.
I've heard other people say it's actually showing it going outside in. So that's, again, it gets into the evidence and just kills me. So I like to focus on the strongest evidence, which is World Trade Center 7, Manhattan. But
I focus on the obvious stuff.
yeah,
I mean,
the obvious things.
There we go.
And then when it comes to the Pentagon, I'm like, yo, stop calling each other shit. It's
Right.
because you have your perspective. That was intent. That's why they took all the videotapes away.
Yeah,
So
to make us fight. Yeah.
Speculate about this thing and fight each other for the rest of our freaking lives.
I want to be able to let you wrap up with whatever you were sharing. But the purpose of the 9/11 War Room was trying to figure out strategy for activism and stuff. We were trying to shy away from evidence, but I do appreciate that Mikey wanted you to come in and talk. So we are going on way longer than normally would.
No, this is really good. This is really good. And I appreciate what you guys are doing right now.
Definitely, I do. Yes.
It's good to talk shop sometimes.
But this is where I would like Richard Gage to pick up on that, because that's his focus, and I appreciate that. I wanted to more focus on strategy and activism, but I realized Mikey was trying to get Richard to meet with us for a while now. So I'd like to give another 5 minutes or so, if there's things you wanted to share about 9/11 that you thought were pretty important that you know.
Well, I was curious because Mikey had brought something before he introduced Rich, before he contacted Richard. Mikey had brought up something about the passengers of Flight 93.
Yeah, Richard, do you remember when you told me that there were people behind the razor wire at Fort Dix in New Jersey?
Oh, yeah. After I joined into the Army National Guard, we usually have an annual training, usually at a military installation. Now, since I work with Cobra gunships and aircraft, we'd be directed to Fort Dix, New Jersey, where we can use their gunnery and their flight attack range. Now, occasionally they let some of the soldiers go back to the post exchange or go to the store and pick up some things that they might need while they're spending their 2 weeks out in the field. Now, upon going up into the inner side of the base, across from the end of the runway, they have a FEMA facility, which in '98, I didn't think anything of it, didn't even know it was even a FEMA facility. All I knew it was a barracks building surrounded by, 18-foot chain link fence with razor barb all over the place and locked doors and white civilians, women and children behind the fence. Okay, well, who are those people? My chain of command also says, well, don't pay any attention to them. Don't even go up there and talk to them. Stay away from it. None of your business. Stay away from them. Okay, well, I'm a young NCO. Well, I'll do what I'm told to do and stay away. Now, where it comes to light is later on, after I was on point at the inner perimeter at the World Trade Center, where I'm actually loading people on the trucks. I'm still not thinking straight. But then after I got out in 2010, it all hit me in one shot. Well, hello, FEMA facility, all these people that we're sending, they're going to these points behind closed doors where no one can speak to them, where no one has contact with them. You can't get in unless you have government access or some type of credential that lets you in through the main gate. Obviously, that's what most military installations are all about, to house and keep military and government equipment and items a secret. So what you want to get from that is up to you. But as far as I know, they have a FEMA facility 9 miles away from Cleveland Airport. And supposedly the airplane landed and people are being disembarked. Well, who's to say they're not at those locations? Because I don't recall anybody finding much on human remains from any of the sites.
Right. So then they would have just kept all of those passengers in that facility and kept them alive for 20 years and they're still there?
Well, let's put it this way. From a military standpoint or a government standpoint, I can hold you without cause for any unlimited amount of time.
Right.
Now, take that consideration with those individuals at Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
So that's a general statement. If the government wants to keep the lid on something, they're going to find a way to do it, whether it's in this country or someplace outside the country.
Okay, so I've got a really crass question. If they had the balls to fly planes into the World Trade Center towers and kill 3,000 people on impact, what would stop them from just offing these people that they're keeping inside camps? If everybody thinks that they're dead, and technically they're dead, and on paper they're dead, and officially they're dead, then why would they be keeping them alive? Out of the goodness, out of their own hearts? That seems a little bit
out of sight, out of mind.
These guys are evil. These guys are, you can't,
I'm just.
The United States government is
These guys will take me out right now. They'll take any one of us out and no problem.
Right. So why are they still? Why would they have kept these passengers alive all these years when they could have gotten away with just getting rid of them?
Well, I don't mean to be rude and answer your question with a question, but the 2 years after I was medically retired from my position, they came looking for me down in Maryland. Now, I'm originally from Long Island, New York, but to have somebody come up to me out of the blue and ask me questions that only I would have the answers to regarding my checkpoint and, the hours I was there, what I was doing, and present me with this information just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Why would they send people out to ask questions like that? It got my wife and myself extremely paranoid. We had to move our location two times afterwards.
Intimidation, man.
I'm sorry?
Intimidation, putting stuff in your subconscious.
Well, I'm still living in I'm in kind of like in hiding almost, except for my phone and my internet. But you know, even that's borrowed. But
Well,
they can get away with a lot of different things.
yeah.
Like I said, part of my job is
I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy, but they're getting away with everything, man. They're doing whatever the freak they want. And that's about, and we are the resistance. So you think that they're just going to let us kick their ass?
let us not forget. Let us not forget what they did to the Asian personnel during World War II.
Yeah.
They literally rounded up every Southeast Asian person, man, woman, and child, and put them into concentration camps or something along such. It was a detention camp to make sure that they don't turn and do anything against the United States during World War II. And there's places out in Seattle, the island off of the coast of Seattle. There's places inland in Arizona, so to speak, Idaho. Those places do exist, and you don't hear hide a hair of these facilities. So if they do have them, big if, you're not going to hear anything from them.
Right.
We don't hear anything from the people in Guantanamo, likewise.
Yeah, we know. We all here should know about the National Defense Authorization Act. They can come and take you. You have no habeas corpus. You have no. They make.
Well, believe it or not, when I used to live on my boat, and when was it not FEMA, but when the Patriot Act came out, if you sit there and actually read the Patriot Act, read it page to page, line by line, it actually gets you kind of scared.
Oh yeah.
And then when I was living on my boat, the federal government made it so I can't get documentation for my vessel anymore. Well, I could, but I'd still have to pay taxes, which sort of defeats the whole purpose of getting documentation. That was back in 2013, 2014 or something like that, where they changed everything up. But yeah, the government can do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, our Constitution is not our Constitution, all the amendments, they're slightly being changed every bill that gets put through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why it's very imperative that, you know, we really should make a stand and fight on our freedoms.
I hope that everybody can join 911public.org.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, Rich, it'd be nice to be able to connect with you more. There's a site that we have we're trying to use as a directory to be able to outreach with each other, and nothing's public that you don't want to be public, and we're just asking for a name and cities,
Well,
or not even state.
Like I said, I don't care who has my name, because most of society today doesn't really care. So they're kind of oblivious of what happened, 21 years ago or 20 years ago. So most of today, it doesn't bother me too much. I'm kind of coming out of my shell slowly, but
if I could really quick, you just get the basics from you, we can get you in here real quick if you wouldn't mind.
What do you need?
All right, let's see. I won't ask all the questions. I'll just get the basics, and you can come back and let me log out.
He might be able to open it in another on his screen.
This will just be quick because I only want to get his. So we got Richard and Mulvey, Mulvey.
Yes.
If you don't want your email address listed publicly, if it will be private, would you mind giving your email address?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, it won't be public. But could you give it? Well, let me pause.
Yeah, I can give it. Right now, I can barely see it.
Hang on.
I zoomed in. I still can't see it.
Let me pause the recording. All right, go ahead. Give your email address.
It's M as in Mike 89 R is in Romeo, A is in Alpha, 1, 2. So altogether, that's M89RA12 @gmail.com.
Gmail.com. All right. Let me turn the recording back on. Oh, after I scroll that off. Just put in a password 911, password 911, and now I can record.
Hey, Gene, may I ask you something? I'm on 911warzone.com, and it's got like a list of the pages on there, and but it's like is that the homepage? You know, the list of the web pages, because I'm looking for that right now. The members register. All right, so I'm going there right now, but the homepage is like a list of all the links, and it's not a homepage at all.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because I'm a website designer and I did not. It's so funny that there's a joke with website designers is their own web page is usually the most atrocious, and that's certainly the case for me. So right now I'll show you that in a minute. Let me get this real quick. Your state you're at, Richard?
Right now, I'm gonna put that down as Florida.
Florida, and that's all we need then. So country, United States. Do you want to give your city? You don't have to, but that would.
Well, I'm giving you a false city, but that's where my mail goes.
Then we don't. That's all right. We'll just say Florida. So I can put in here Florida. So there we go. Bam. We save. So now, if somebody wanted to be able to get a hold of you, they can't get your email address. Wait, what happened here? My password.
If they're savvy, if they're tech savvy, they could definitely home in on my SIM card.
No. If somebody's that, yeah. If somebody really.
Don't be surprised. There's people out there that have been looking for me, and one of whom was my ex-wife, and she's like, "What are you doing in Germany?" I'm like, "I'm not in Germany."
So now,
like, I heard you're on the island. I'm like, "No, I'm still not there. Keep trying."
So, real quick to Claudio's question, Claudio, if you do go to 911public.org, it'll take you right to this members area, 911public.org. It's basically taking you to a subdirectory of 911warroom.com. So what Claudio's saying, if you go to 911warroom.com, the homepage is just a list of files. But if you were to click on members, that is that. I totally confused everybody right now, but that's all right. So with the power with this, I can talk to you personally, Claudio, and guide you through that if it helps. Now what's great is we can see a map of all of us activists, and there's 5 people right now in Florida.
Am I in there?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I'm on the members register. I didn't know I had to do that. See,
yeah, cool.
I'm still the new kid on the block here.
All good. So two of the people that just put Florida are Michael Zarzano and Rich Mulvey. So Rich, if somebody was try to get a hold of you, one, they can't get your email address. It's not listed. Whoop, hang on, let me log out. Try this again. Where'd it go? 2 people. One of them is Richard Mulvey. Go to his profile. And if they, your email address is not listed, but if they wanted to, they click on this contact me form, and it's a form. So that doesn't give your email address. So if I need to get a hold of you, if anybody here would like to ask further questions from this conversation, they can fill this form out and you'll get it via email. Now, when you get the email, if you respond to them, you're going to give them your email address. But yeah, if you're responding, that's a good thing. So all good.
Well, at least you have to go through filling out a FOIL report.
No, I got my own FOIA request out in Pentagon for 100 videos around the Pentagon within 1 mile. And they got back and says, we can't find distance stamps, so we're not going to give you any of them. So right now I'm in the lawsuit at the Supreme Court level, I got to find out where that's at with the lawyers committee, because as Mick Harrison said to me, that's a good thing. We've got them on the hook for 100 videos. They say that we're unreviewed, because in their response, they said, we have 100 videos. We don't have a distance stamp and they're unreviewed. What do you mean they're unreviewed? This evidence was supposed to be presented to the 9/11 Commission. This evidence was supposed to be given to Congress. And you're saying you have 100 videos approximately that's unreviewed? It's such a ridiculous.
Well, I want to leave you with a closing statement.
Yes, sir.
Just keep in mind, as like TWA Flight 800, of which I was there for as well, keep in mind, aircraft can be found. If the aircraft isn't found, there's something wrong.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only statement I got to say.
It's the same thing with the videos. If they're hiding evidence, if they're not giving us evidence, if they're not showing us a reassembled plane, they're hiding stuff. If they're not giving us the black boxes, they're hiding stuff. It's
well, getting to the Twin Towers, they did a video on the diesel, the jet fuel and whatnot.
Right.
And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, most of that I agree with, because here at Ronkonkoma on Long Island, they do test with jet fuel to show the National Guard troops that it is not flammable or directly flammable. You need to generate an awful lot of heat for that fuel to go up. But there's a lot of different. You have to be into molecular structures and engineering to understand a lot of the stuff that I talk about, or what some of the folks talk about, and a lot of it makes sense. But there's a lot of drop points where that doesn't add up for what the scenario was.
Right, Mikey.
I was trying to send Claudio a DM asking if I could connect with him after this, just because I'd never met with him before prior to this. So I just like to meet him on a more personable level. Not because I don't like you guys, but just I like to meet everybody as and Sandra, I apologize. This is actually the first time we've actually had a real conversation, but I have seen you before. But I know Gene, I know Richard, I know Julia, I know
the
Chris.
face of truth?
Huh?
How do you not know the face of truth? Just kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah, well, he's funny. He says funny shit, and I like that.
I don't mean to be funny, but life is funny. 9/11 is a joke. I mean, the official story anyway,
Right.
and it's insulting. It's insulting to our intelligence, and it's disrespectful to us.
I agree.
They can present this.
I agree. Here.
I was ready to.
I guess my 20 seconds.
I was ready to use some Brooklynese. That's how peed off. I swear to God.
Oh, you speak Brooklynese, eh?
Yeah, big time, man.
You guys are both.
We don't like bad guys, man. We used to clean up our neighborhood. We showed them who's boss.
You guys are New
It
Yorkers.
ought to be done.
Yeah, these guys, but these bad guys here, man, these guys are powerful. They're organized. They're on the same page at the same time. And what we've got is, the facts. We've got each other. We've got tools and rights left at our disposal. But we need to get on the same page at the same time, just like them.
So my one question for Gene.
Yes.
My one question to you would be is, now that it's been so many years after the fact, and we're still trying to piece together truth from farce, what's going to happen when we all do agree on a truth, and what are we going to do about it?
So what I'm trying to tell everybody, because everyone says, well, where are we after 20 years? This January 21st, 2022, the Lawyers Committee is going to be having oral arguments at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals level. This is one step under the Supreme Court, fighting for our right to present evidence to a grand jury. So we have our First Amendment constitutional right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. A grand jury is a government entity. So we've already, let me start over. April of 2018, they presented 60 exhibits with a controlled demo of 1, 2, and 7. In November of 2018, The U.S. Attorney's Office says we acknowledge that information and we will present it to a grand jury per federal statute 18 USC 3332. They drug their feet for 2 years. The lawyers committee sued them. And now it's been going back and forth, district level. We're now at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals level to fight for our constitutional right to present this evidence, just to present the evidence to the grand jury, which they already acknowledged we could do, but now they're fighting us. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's the government
Well-
talking out two sides of their mouth. Yeah, okay, we'll present it.
That's because from a legal standpoint, a lot of evidence is actually deemed inadmissible in court. A lot of evidence, especially if it's video. Video
Well-
evidence, a lot of that can't be submitted from a legal standpoint.
I don't know about that. Mick has been doing this for a bunch of years.
Well, it depends upon the credibility of the person who took the film footage, where the film footage was, what it was about,
Right.
what was it being presented for, and these lawyers, they got loopholes around loopholes. Let me tell you.
So
And
anyway,
you know,
it's still current. The lawyers committee is presenting these oral arguments again in January, and that's where it's at. If we win this, which we should, because we still have our First Amendment,
if
we
you
present
lose
this
the
evidence.
grasp of it,
We present this evidence to a grand jury, and they hear the 60 exhibits, and let the chips fall where they may. It'll be the first time we have subpoena power, testimony under oath, and discovery of all relevant evidence. That in front of a grand jury would be devastating, absolutely devastating.
All we gotta do is get our foot in the door in any fair court on the planet.
oh, I would love to get my foot in the door.
Oh,
Yes.
Jesus, man.
Yes.
You know, that's it. We got the job done.
But
Yep.
the problem, a lot of the problem is just tooth and nail business, because a lot of the evidence has either been sunk in the Atlantic Ocean or it's been buried in some garbage pit somewhere.
Well,
Well,
A
that,
lot of that
that's
evidence is
actually
gone.
not necessarily true, because there's pieces of the beams from the Twin Towers that are all over the United States that still have some of the thermite evidence on them still.
Thermite. No, when you talk about thermite, well,
Gene, if I
thermite.
might for a moment,
Huh?
Who?
Sean is asking to speak for a moment.
go ahead, Sean.
there's a 30-year time limit when companies have to get rid of their records in New York State.
Okay. There is no statute of limitations on murder, but I hear you on that. This is, if you guys go to 911lawyers.org/evidence, I made it really easy to remember. 911lawyers.org/evidence. It goes to this page, which is the 60 exhibits evidence for the grand jury as presented to the U.S. attorney on this in the Southern District of New York back that day. Number one exhibit is the active thermitic material. So all of this they've deemed will stand up in court. We have residue of active thermitic material. We have iron microspheres. This stuff doesn't come from anything but what would be nanothermite, nanothermic components.
Okay, well, that's a big plus right there.
That's just that exhibit one. So we've got 60 of them all here, even video evidence, like you said. I mean, we have
Willie, there's Willie.
Rodriguez, yeah. Willie Rodriguez, exhibit 22. It's his testimony saying, I was in the basements. There was an explosion that pushed 14 of us up in the air, and explosion happened, and then the plane hit. And this guy, he was a janitor for the.
I agree to that because when I was speaking to Mike Porrazzo earlier this year, he mentioned something about well, what do you think about what happened with the Trade Center Twin Towers? And I said, well, my opinion, well, fact actually, was December 28th. Was it 1999? I was actually in that building, some months before the actual event. And they actually had both buildings cordoned off, and certain areas were restricted to tourists and everybody to go up because they were painting. And I was like, oh well, I'll go to the next building and go in that that building. They said, oh, no, you can't go in there either. They're painting. I'm like, where are they painting? They're painting the interior spaces. There's like interior space. Why the hell are they painting interior spaces?
No.
Oh, like a bridge. Oh, they want to check for rust and stuff like that. All the support structure and paint over it and do its inspections. Aha. I thought about that. But then after the towers went down, well, they went down so perfectly, only 3 companies in the whole entire world can make a precision drop like that. Only 3. And none of them did it.
Right.
Okay, well, how did this happen? Well, wait a minute. Somebody was in there early this year painting. Well, they could paint on explosive, you know.
Guys, I gotta go. I gotta go
Yeah.
walk the dogs.
Yeah, well, we need to start wrapping it up.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
going on
taking it
2.5
out.
hours
I
there.
apologize. I'm sorry, I'm cutting anybody off.
No, we're good.
No, it's-
You to listen.
Oh,
Beautiful
we're
system.
2.5 hours. Yeah, we got to wrap this up here.
Beautiful system on the website, Gene. You and registering and whatever you did, it was really awesome.
Claudio, are you going to drag in 10 extra people by next week?
Wow, I'm just getting to know the neighborhood over here.
Virtual people, Claudio, you know people on the internet, you can pull them in.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. The thing is that, like I says, I got to know how to sell the product, but first you got to know the product.
So get to
You
know
know,
the product and then sell it.
Yeah,
Come
well,
on. what do you think
I
of selling
got
the product
I got a product to sell, but we need more buys. And by the way, it's free. So, and you
Right
know what
on.
I'm talking, and you know what, you guys know what I'm talking about. Those of you guys who know what I'm
Right
talking
on.
about. Anyway, Mike, just email me, man. I am the face of truth at gmail.com. I registered on Gene's, well,
There, so you can connect on through the
Yeah.
form
Gene's
now.
masterpiece site, Nice job, Gene. You're
Thank
doing
you.
good, man.
Appreciate that,
And
man.
you too, Sandra, Yeah, behind every good man is a great woman.
Thanks, Claudio.
Okay, it's the truth.
Have a good night, brother.
This is the truth moment. Okay, bye, you guys.
Bye,
And
Claudio.
Stay safe.
Ciao.
And nice chatting with you. Bye.
Hasta.
All right,
So,
how do you leave this place?
You click on leave.
as far as action items to go, we're still trying to push Mick from the Lawyers Committee on his handout for he's making a flyer for us to hand out to lawyers.
Yeah.
Mikey, if you could, as an action item, if you wouldn't mind talking to, I'm still sharing, good. If you would talk to Chris on the, what's it
Yeah,
called?
I'm not, can you either send me a Facebook message or something and tell me exactly what you want me to ask him? Because I'm one of those people, if I don't have it written down, I'm just fucked, man.
Yeah, I'll do that. But basically, you'll just go to their site and up in the top. So if you went to 9/11 firefighters and you clicked on the Justice for Heroes and you get here and there's a mutual aid request, he has this older one and we'd just like to see if he'd update it so we could hand out for firefighters. That would be awesome.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, without a contact person, we're kind of like left in the dark in terms of where do we go with it? Because if we can't give people an email address for contact and someone who's willing to be the central point of on the receiving end, then it's just going to fall into another dark hole.
The action item for me then on that also is to reach out to Paul Simon to see if he, or Eric Lawyer.
But Paul's in the UK, and we need. I mean, not to discredit him at all. On the contrary, but we do need someone in the States
Well, we'll
who's
talk
willing
to
to run with this.
Eric Lawyer, Dale Pierce, Chris Robbins. There's a million of these guys. Not a million, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's
A lot
like
of
3.
firefighters that are speaking out.
I know, but we have to be able to refer all of these people. Anybody who responds is going to have to go somewhere who's willing to take the lead on this. Eric Lawyer is not taking the lead on anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking
What
the
did
lead.
what was Claudio's email address, or how can I get in touch with him
I think
again?
it was imthefaceoftruth@gmail.com, if I remember.
Okay.
If you just go to 9/11 Public now,
Yeah, or you can just go there now.
and we search for Claudio. There it is. You go here, and he actually gave his. Oh wait, I'm logged in. Oh, he gave it as his public anyways. There it is. I am the face of truth at gmail.com. You either do that or click the contact me page and send it to him that way.
Is he from New York?
Oh yes, you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
Geez,
that's why I was asking, because he sounded so funny, man. I love their like accent.
Yeah,
Who has
He's
a
Portuguese.
coffee in New York? Yeah.
yeah. He
Hey,
just
you
moved
leave
to
my
Florida
coffee
like last year, I think.
You can tell with Rich too. Rick and New Yorkers.
Now, did he say that his wife died on 9/11? Is that what he
No.
said?
No, he divorced. They separated because of 9/11 in part.
Oh, okay. Worse. Okay.
Same here.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Rocky. Yeah, I was told to never talk about it again. So yeah.
We're all 9/11 widows.
Yep. Mine turned around and said, "You're never home. You're always in that damn city of Fort Hamilton. When are you coming home?" When I came home, she left me. She was with somebody else.
Oh man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, life's life. People are people.
All right, round table. Anybody got anything for the group? Al?
No, I'm good. I can't think of, we covered, Craig McGee was the only thing I was wondering about. And you sort of touched on that.
I didn't get to finish up on that, but
Yeah, no worries. I get
Yeah.
it. No
Yeah.
big deal.
it's ugly.
Yeah, I figured that one. And I think I mentioned the last time our Boston Tea Party was canceled because I don't know why, but they did it on Zoom, so we didn't get to go down there. That was about all we had planned. I probably won't be at the next meeting because I'm going to be out in California unless I can get connected from out there.
I guess the question is there even going to be a call? Oh, you mean the Boston meeting or this one?
No, this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's
yeah,
going to be
when
the
they
day after Christmas, so it might be
Yeah.
iffy.
I'll pop in if there's a couple people here. We'll talk for a few minutes and yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, well, everybody have a merry, happy holiday or whatever you're celebrating. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Fa la la. No snow.
Oh,
Rich, you got anything for the group?
Maybe a bit of a jabberjaw and blow a lot of smoke and wind. But if you want to try and talk to me on another note and try to get specifics out of me, feel free.
I really think there's an avenue. I think there's an avenue for discussion with you and Richard on some of the Pentagon stuff.
Yes.
There's definitely would be a great add to that conversation.
I mean, I was not at the actual Pentagon, so I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that.
Some of the things you were touching on, I think that would be good.
But I can interlude by shedding light on a lot of things that are covered under a military perspective.
Yes,
Well,
that's exactly what I was
that's
meant.
very valuable.
That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
and
Yeah.
The military side is usually the sketchy side that no one usually gets to hear the answer or the word from.
Right.
Are you in touch at all with Captain Dan Hanley?
Who?
Captain Dan Hanley,
Dan?
pilots for 9/11 Truth?
No.
Yeah, you
No,
might wanna-
I don't talk to any of my comrades online anymore.
And Field McConnell, no?
Don't even know who he is.
Well, you might want to have them both on your radar.
Yeah, Dan Hanley is a very outspoken pilot.
Are they Cobra or Blackhawk pilots?
Dan
I
Hanley's
think
a
that Dan Hanley
former.
was a commercial airline pilot, right?
Yes, Dan Hanley is a former commercial airline pilot, flew both 757s and 767. He's now the lead whistleblower for 9/11 pilots. So
I know a prior service commercial airliner, Captain Arroyo. He really want to talk too much. He's very quiet about, because he was one of the officers involved with World Trade Center, so he doesn't want to talk too much as far as shop when it comes to World Trade Center. But he is a commercial pilot that I know of that was in the military.
Right.
Okay, and Field McConnell, what was, I don't remember what his background was exactly.
McConnell?
Yeah, I'm asking Gene, because
he was
Gene knows
part-
more of it than I do.
Field McConnell was part of Able Danger, former pilot. Let me see here.
Is he part of the 42nd Infantry Division or the 1st 173rd?
Export on MH370 with Emirates and MAS and Able Danger.
Able Danger. I mean, I know Forward Operating Base Danger. I know Task Force Wolfhound and the task forces that I work for in the city, but
U.S. Naval Academy. Yeah.
that gets fuzzy. I mean, I only know the people I used to work with right here in Ronkonkoma.
Right. Thank you. Sandra, anything for the group?
No, that's it.
Mikey?
No, I'm good. I'm glad I joined this. I got to meet some cool cats, so this is good.
Yeah, I appreciate you as an activist. You're what this is what we need. People just having World Trade Center on their phone saying, well, does this look right? That's awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, you know what's kind of interesting? I'd like to be like really in your face like Gene does, you know, where he's out on the sidewalk at Vesey and whatever, and I'd like to like post all this shit on Facebook, but sadly the thing is I use Facebook to promote my business, and it's a really slippery slope because I have friends of mine that were firefighters on 9/11, and I don't necessarily want to lose their friendship based over factual information because they might still be in denial, or that or they agree but they still lost their comrades, and you know what I mean? So it's just I have to walk a very slippery slope when I post stuff on there because I want to keep those friends and I obviously want to keep my business, but you can in this day and age, we should know that you can be labeled whatever very easily. Now, have I served as a Facebook inmate? Yes, many times. Not as many as Gene, where I got 17 multiple accounts where I can log on at any given time. But you know what I mean? Like I gotta just be careful because I don't want to post like a bunch of shit on there and then
But Mike, it doesn't matter. You do what you can do with the tools you have under the circumstances you're in. And if you're out there in the street talking to people every single day, I mean, don't forget Facebook to a certain degree is an echo chamber. You know, you're just gonna reach a lot of, you know, the same people who are already on board with you. So do what you do, and that's that's all anybody can do. And we all have our strengths and our weaknesses and our weak points, and specific abilities, and you know, just run with it.
Yeah, I've noticed that every time I drive my Explorer, I'm getting more and more people asking me what's up with that, you know? So I think I might get one of those like markers where you can write on the windows and be like, you know, justice for 9/11heroes.org or something. And then they'll connect that with the license plate. And maybe it would be cool if there was a way for any of these websites you have that could have a counter to see if you're getting more and more people. Because if you did, it would be interesting to see if it was from me just driving around, because in a year I probably add around 100,000 miles, so that's a lot of people that you could be targeting, you know.
Heck yeah.
As long as you don't wind up amongst the missing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to stay away from that category.
Yeah, mine is very similar except not that license plate.
Yeah,
that was the back of my truck 6 months ago. It's basically the same.
Yeah, I need one of these that World Trade Center 7 didn't blow itself up. I need that exact sticker, or did you know the third tower fell? I need those two for the back window on my for my Explorer.
I gotta start producing stick decals. Yeah, I've got a vinyl cutter and I can produce this stuff.
I also like the ones you put in the gas pumps for the credit card reader, where that is very, very smart. I like that. That one made me laugh like a lot, but I was like, that's freaking genius, man.
I made up all these business cards and stick them in. Do I have anything here? Nope, that's not me.
Gene, if you can make those up,
I'd take up on that because I got them envy.
Al, what were you saying?
I said, if Gene can make those up, I'd be more than happy to pay whatever he wants for it.
Yeah, I would too.
Okay. Wow. All right. I just gotta find a way. So here's what I do. I take those cards and I stick them in.
Yeah, perfect. Can I one more thing, may I say?
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. His name is Dan. He lives here in Virginia. I used to live in Arlington, Virginia, like less than a mile from the Pentagon. And Dan is a really unique individual because he owns and runs a t-shirt shop that his father started for the, in Arlington. It's been in business for around 50 years or so. And they just, do silk screen t-shirts.
Yeah.
And come to find out, I was talking to Dan. He's a huge, I don't want to use the conspiracy theorist term. He's a huge truther on a whole bunch of issues, and he could, if we ever need anything as far as t-shirts or whatever, he said he'd be down to hook us up,
All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to share that information. You guys all have this at your fingertips. If you go to 911warroom.com again, remember, it just looks like an ugly thing here. I just want functionality is what I'm after here. And you click on flyers. All my flyers are downloadable. The business cards are downloadable, both the front and the back, the actual, the graphic.
Yeah, you can have them printed in your own backyard and just get as many copies as you want.
So there's the front, whoops, not that. Hang
They're
on,
like Statue of Liberty tickets.
Yeah, these are business card size, 2.5 inches by 3 inches. There's the front and there's the back. And then all you have to do is you go to this site, bargainbasementprinting.com business card. Look how beautiful this is. This is so easy. And because this would actually be the easier way for you guys to want this instead of going through me.
Yeah.
I got to get the update on where the link is. It goes to here. The minimum order is 500 cards for, it's going to say $20 for $20. You want to upload the file, next page, choose the front. So you download those 2 pictures that I showed. There's the front, there's the back, approve the proof, and it'll be at your doorstep in 2 weeks. And it only costs you $20.
That's
I'd almost
great.
rather have you do it, Gene, and I'd order it for you for a premium, bud.
Right on. That's cool. All right, I just got to get a
Dude,
shopping
it makes
cart.
it so easy.
I'm sorry to keep speaking, but there has been other things that have happened. So do you remember that Rudy Dent passed away a little while ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this Facebook page called Up 110, and it's, dedicated to the firefighters that died, and they post pictures saying today we remember blah, blah, blah for his ultimate sacrifice and everything. Well, they didn't know that Rudy Dent had died. No surprise there, because Rudy Dent was the official whistleblower,
What's the
and
site?
I sent in Rudy Dent's picture where it said I don't remember who posted it, but somebody said 9/11 truth teller and first responder or something like that. I sent that in to Up 110. And then as it turned out, Up 110 was getting an influx of firefighters from his station saying, oh, contact Mike Porrazzo, he'll give you more details. So meanwhile, I was getting all of his friends contacting me, and I was like, yeah, well, I guess you didn't know that, Rudy was a truther and blah, blah, blah. And a bunch of the guys told me, go fuck yourself. But 5 or 6 of them were actually on my side, and they were really respective of Rudy,
What's the domain? What's the website?
Huh?
What
It's
is
Facebook. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah, if it's somewhere on there, there'll be one for Rudy. And what was fucked up was when I sent in the thing, they cropped it and took off the part that said 9/11 truth teller, of course.
Wow.
But what was interesting about it was that I had all these guys from his firehouse hitting me up, and I was telling them what happened to Rudy. And then 2 of them I became friends with, and it turns out that one of them, his name is Craig. He just liked a photo that I posted. Craig Busseri. He worked at Ladder 33 in the Bronx with Rudy, and he's a huge 9/11 truther too. So there are some FDNY guys out there, but we have to get them in on this. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
we have to connect them. I mean,
that was one thing I was trying to tell Chris, what the last time I was at his house for dinner, I was like, Chris, this movement really doesn't mean a whole lot unless you have the people that were there that day to put in their, their thing. You know what I mean?
right.
If you have a bunch of firefighters that were there on 9/11 saying what they saw, it's a lot more believable than a bunch of kooks like us. I'm not saying we are, but you know what I mean. So I'm gonna reach out to Craig and I'm gonna ask him if he'll come on to this next Sunday and join us, because it really means a lot when you have the
Yeah.
eyewitness accounts.
Of
Come
course,
back.
and we were just saying before that we need to connect these people, just like, you know, with your friend Richard that came, you know, connect people who can speak about, you know, piloting a plane and that kind of stuff. So these groups
No,
need to
I'm
be
an
formed.
aircraft maintenance mechanic, but I also do a lot of other jobs for the military when I was still in.
Okay.
Right. Trying to find Rudy here. Huh, okay. Well, thank you all.
That would have been around, by the way, that would have been around between October 12th and October 14th, just so you know.
Thanks. I'm like struggling here.
Yeah,
Man,
because I just found the message that I sent them.
so I'm almost there. Might as well just hang in there for a second. So I can, where we at? 16th. Guys coming up.
That's Tommy Hetzel.
Oh,
Right there. That's Tommy. But keep going down.
Yeah. Wow, this is an amazing record.
Mike, can I ask you? We were
Right there,
talking-
right there. See where they cropped it right under FDNY? It used to say a 9/11 truth teller. That's what I sent them, and they fucking cropped it off.
We were talking last week or 2 weeks ago about possibly having a counter of all the FDNY officers who have died since 9/11 due to illnesses related to 9/11. Do you know where that would be? Like, apparently there was a website that was keeping track of these things.
Oh, of the deaths that are connected
the-
to 9/11.
Right.
There's some people I can ask for that, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head.
Right.
I could probably ask a friend of mine's wife. He recently was working for the fire department in Brooklyn, and he passed away a couple months ago. I can make contact with her and see if she has any
Right.
information to put onto that.
And it would be very powerful to have that information available so that we can say, you know, yes, 3,000 people died that day and 343 firefighters died that day. But if we can talk about those that died in the aftermath from lung-related illnesses, then that would be very powerful.
I want to show you guys something so you're all aware of this. And YouTube, if you search for something, I remembered when the lady that worked for InfoWars did an interview of him. Very popular video of Rudy, because I want to post it on that post. You go to YouTube, you put in, hang on. You go to YouTube and you type in Rudy Dent 9/11 Truth and you won't find it anywhere. This is what YouTube's doing. And somebody gave me this tip. When you go to filters, it's on relevance. They're filtering out the stuff that matters. You need to just take it from relevance to view count or anything else. And all of a sudden, there's the videos.
Wow.
So it's a complete, just unbelievable.
They're trying to get rid of all the evidence.
Yep.
And what they see as being relevant and irrelevant is being based on their determinations. So what they want is just being filtered right out. And a lot of that is pure evidence that we can actually use. So you have to get it while you can before it disappears and dissipates.
We'll see how long this stays up.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Keep an eye on it. Save the post and go back to it later.
I shared it. But that's a great tip. If you guys are ever looking for old videos, they're scrubbing them and they're also burying them. Like they're there, you just can't find it. Like for me, look, if you try to look up Richard Gage 9/11, this is ridiculous. Richard Gage 9/11. It's his new program. Won't come up here anywhere.
Oh, but we have to write it attached.
You
Write
can
it
even write it
attached for a
attached.
second?
Even attached, it won't work.
Seriously?
How about the one where the FAA and the mayor in Cleveland? I can't find that online no more.
No. So if I want to get to Richard Gage's new program, you won't find it anywhere. I got to go to my history, and then find me listening to one of his shows there, Unleashed, and click on Richard Gage, and that's the only way I'm able to get to his channel.
Yeah, I get to it directly though.
That's crazy.
That's really weird.
Anyway, we keep rambling. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Be
Yep.
safe.
Likewise.
And we'll be back next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Anybody
Bye.
else wants to join? Bye.
Yeah.